Beautiful day for the sprinters, not so good for the distance guys, but this is the 1999 IHSA Boys Track and Field Championships coming to you from O'Brien Stadium here on the campus of Eastern Illinois University. Jim Blaney along with Kenny McReynolds, and in AA, Kenny, we've got a great distance matchup between Donald Sage of York and Ed Torres of Wheeling. They're both in the 1600 and the 3200. Those should be the two premier events in the AA meet.
Yeah, it should be a great event, the 1632. Sage and Torres, we're looking forward to these two going against each other. But with this heat, I'm sure the distance guys would rather it be cool. It's very, very warm down here today.
Now, we all know about York's great legacy in cross country in this state. However, they have a great shot at winning a state championship here in track, but oddly enough, it depends on a hurdler, Kyle Erickson.
Yeah, Kyle Erickson has qualified, Jim, in the 100 high meter hurdles and the 300 low meter hurdles. If York is to win the state championship today, Mr. Erickson will have to come through.
Now, as we get ready for the start of the AA finals, we should point out that everything is wide open for the team title because of various mishaps that happened yesterday in the prelims. One team that might have a very strong chance of coming out of here with the state title is Thornwood, because they came through relatively unscathed yesterday. But Wheaton, Warrenville South, they were the favorites all season long. They have a shot at winning this as well. In single A, we're going to focus on the sprints, the 100 and 200, where the top two qualifiers are the same in both events.
And this is great weather for the 100 and 200. It's easy to get loose when you're nice and warm. You talk about the 1 and 200. You have DJ Glenn from Springville Valley High and Dan Rush from Luther South. They're going to be side by side in each event. That should be a classic matchup.
As far as the team matchup is concerned in Class A, always look out for Eureka. They're usually strong in the relays and strong in the distances. They are always very, very tough. Mark Pinsky is also along today. He'll be covering the field events. We'll hear from him later on in the program. When we come back, we'll set the field for our first event in the 1999 IHSA Boys Track and Field Championships. The runners are on the track for our first event of the day. It is the 3,200-meter relay in Class A. Let's take a look at our field and see how it shapes up. The #1 qualifying team for this event in the prelims, Fairbury Prairie Central. Their time yesterday, 8 minutes and 48/100ths of a second. Leading the group in lane 2 will be Eureka. We talked about them and always have good distance runners and good distance relays. They'll be led off by Ryan Chapman. Wheaton St. Francis, they'll be leading off the third group of runners. Then Stanford Olympia, whose girls had a good run here last weekend, they will be leading the group of the fourth set of teams. The state record in this event in Class A set back in 1981, Princeton High School, 7:54.2. So Fairbury was close to that yesterday, but Eureka, Kenny, we've been down here a lot of years, and it just seems every year we come down here, they run out good distance relay teams.
You know, it's no surprise to see the white and green of Eureka.
Located on US 24. You do as I do when I come down from Chicago, cut over to Peoria on 24. Of course, one of the most famous things about Eureka, or so the Chamber of Commerce claims, that's where Ronald Reagan went to college at. And we are just about ready to begin our first event. 3,200-meter relay, 4 legs, 800 meters apiece. We've said it before, we'll say it again. In these smaller schools, a pretty good trick just to find 4 guys who are willing to run the most difficult race in track, that being the 800 meters. They start out in 4 groups of 3, and then they can cut into the inside lane once they reach the back straightaway. So you see different strategies at the start of this race as to whether or not the runners want to cut to the pole right away. And we just have a big pack as we go down the back straightaway, and Chapman of Eureka is staying right in there. Russ Gadbury, a sophomore, is running the opening leg for Prairie Central. Right now he is running second, so Prairie Central 2 and Eureka 3 at this point of the race, and now we see Chapman. He decides to move into the #2 spot. Tell you what, we have an even group of 800-meter runners all running the opening legs.
Nobody seems to want to jump out in front, Jim. Everybody's staying with a nice, even pace.
Monmouth's Andy Smith, a junior, he is holding the lead right now as we reach the halfway point of leg #1. Monmouth and Eureka running 1-2. With Prairie Central running in 3rd right now. And in the blue singlet, that's Aurora Central Catholic running in 3rd now. They were 4th, have now hopped up to #3. So we've seen a good race in the first leg between Monmouth and Eureka. And now Chapman decides to take the lead, but coming up alongside him, Aurora Central Catholic takes the lead. I believe that is Mike Clausen, a sophomore, running the opening leg for them.
Well, he came out of nowhere, Jim, to take the lead.
Well, what he wants to do here, Kenny, is you want to try and get to the front of the pack if you can, because that puts your teammate first in line to receive a baton. It's just a lot easier to make the exchange if you can move into that #1 spot.
Look at the charge by Eureka in lane number, the third guy.
Chapman trying to get to the line first. Eureka, then Aurora Central Catholic. 1-2 so far as we come to the first exchange. And Aurora Central Catholic actually gets rid of the baton first. Running the second leg for Eureka is Doug Lehman, a senior.
Fort Lehman got off to a great start after the exchange, Jim.
And he has opened up about a 10-meter lead, and he is absolutely flying down the back straightaway. Right now, it is Eureka 1, Monmouth moving into second place. And then Aurora Central Catholic running third, and Prairie Central has dropped back to fourth. Again, the state record in this event, 7:54. Prairie Central's time yesterday in the prelims was 6 seconds off that. You know what? That's a perfect build for an 800-meter runner right there.
Well, I tell you what, he had the perfect stride too, Jim.
You have to be strong to run this race, because as we've joked about many times, it has really turned into the 800-meter dash, and that is Doug Lehman, a senior for Eureka, who is running this leg. We should point out he did not run in the prelims yesterday, so he is fresh.
And I would think in this heat, and it's very hot down here this afternoon, you will need as many fresh runners as you can get.
And again, that's not a luxury the small schools usually have. But Eureka appears to be taking advantage of that deep distance program that they have. Although Lehman appears to be slowing down just a little bit on the back straightaway, he's giving up just a little bit of his lead, and now he really looks like the gorilla has jumped on his back as he's hit the last 200 meters. He has really slowed down a lot.
Yeah, he's about to be passed now if they come around the turn.
Lehman is still holding on to the lead. And they have flip-flopped the order of the exchange because Prairie Central has taken the lead. It's Prairie Central, Eureka, Aurora Central Catholic, and Prairie Central all running in a bunch. It appears as Aurora Central Catholic is going to make their exchange first, and taking the baton for Aurora Central Catholic running the third leg is Manuel Barraza, a sophomore. Mike Edgar, a senior for Prairie Central, he is running leg number 3. And he appears to be off to a very good start as he is chasing down Barraza as they run 1-2.
Boy, he's just about a stride behind him, Jim. He looks really strong. I think he may pass him.
If he's going to pass him, that's not the spot you want to do it.
No.
The better strategy is to stay right on his shoulder, and if you want to pass him coming off the turn. And Edgar is running in an absolutely perfect spot because Barraza knows he's there, but not sure when the move might come. Let's see if Edgar makes his move now if they turn down the straight.
If he's going to make it, he needs to make it now. I don't know if he can pass him.
Aurora Central Catholic, Prairie Central, St. Joseph Ogden running 1-2-3 as we pass the midway point of leg number 3 of the 3,200-meter relay, our opening event in the 1999 Class A State Track and Field Championship. Edgar able to make his move late on the front straightaway. So as he heads for the final 300 meters of his leg, he's opened up a lead of about 2 or 3 meters. Running the anchor leg for Prairie Central will be Ryan Young, a senior. And the order getting juggled up a little bit again as St. Joseph Ogden making a bid to move into second place. Mike Edgar, the senior from Prairie Central, continuing to hold the lead for his team, but he's got a kick coming up behind him. And all the teammates are jumping up and down as they get ready to take the baton exchange, making sure their teammates know exactly where they are at. Ryan Young getting ready to take the baton from Mike Edgar as Prairie Central holds the lead heading into the final leg.
And it was a perfect exchange with the baton.
Running the anchor leg in second place right now for Aurora Central Catholic is Mike Lawson. We had said he had run the opening leg. That is not correct. He is running the anchor leg. He has about 10 meters to make up on Ryan Young. Ryan Young's lead to hold, at least for the time being. Prairie Central number 1, Aurora Central Catholic number 2. And we have pretty well separated out into 2 groups of runners, the top 4 in one group and then the rest of the field running in the next 5. Pretty good stride by Glosson as he tries to run down Ryan Young on the first curve. Although it appears the field is compressing a little bit behind Young.
I tell you, look at that body on Young, Jim. You talk about a perfect runner's body.
You got to be able to bring it in this race. You got to be able to go a long way in an all-out sprint. Although Young appears to, at least for now, to have held off the challenge through 1 lap of the final leg. Blake Otto of Stanford Olympia. He is running 3rd right now.
Boy, Young really looks strong, Jim.
And Ryan Bigek, a senior from Westmont, he's running 4th right now, but it may not matter because Ryan Young, after facing a challenge a little bit as he came through turn number 2 of 4, he has now started to open it up on the field. And he has about 200 meters to go, and he has a big lead to work with. He would really have to hop on it to get a state record. 7:33 is where the clock is at right now. But right now, Young not so concerned with that. He has a big lead to work with, and it appears now that the race is going to be for 2nd place. Prairie Central, they had the best time in the prelims coming in. It appears they are going to go out of here with a state championship. Young is going to get close to a state record, but he's not quite going to get it. Unofficial time, 7:55. 2nd place, Stanford Olympia, St. Joe Ogden 3rd, and then the rest of the field coming across. Eureka, in case you're keeping track for a team standpoint, they come in 5th, and St. Francis from Wheaton, they place number 4. So a very, very good race. And as we suspected, Prairie Central, they did make a pretty good stab at the state record, unofficially only missing by a little bit more than a second, and that's not much in a 3,200-meter relay.
Well, especially in this heat, Jim. But what an outstanding run by Ryan Young. He was outstanding. He was strong. Coming down the final 100 meters or so, he really turned it on.
He gave back a little bit after about 200 meters of his leg, but after that, he just pulled away once he heard the gun for the final lap. So congratulations to Prairie Central. They not only win, they win it in impressive fashion. Our next event, the 3,200-meter relay for the AA schools. Top qualifying time turned in by Pontiac, 7:47.57. That turned out to be about 4 seconds better than the 2nd best qualifying time turned in by the Redhawks of Naperville Central at 7:51.47. Cary Grove, they lead the number 3 group. Cary Grove qualified at 7:52.34, and DG North was the 4th best qualifying time. The state record in this event, I don't think they're going to touch it. 7:38, that was set by Thornton back in 1976. That just so happens to be only a 1.5 seconds off the national record. Elmhurst, York. Remember, they're bidding for a state title today. John Janelis, a junior, will run the opening leg. York needs to get points out of this event if they are going to follow through with their hopes of winning a state championship. You have to get points out of the relays. And this could be a pretty fast race because even though the qualifying times were not necessarily that impressive, they were all very close, which a lot of times happens in your relay preliminaries. Guys looking around, making sure they get into the finals.
That's all you really want to do.
Well, and the other thing is, too, Kenny, is a lot of these guys run individually in this event as well. So running 2 800s in a day is not easy.
That's Pontiac in 3rd.
Pontiac by far, though, the best qualifying time. And everybody in a group as we come around the first turn. Naperville Central first, Cahokia second, and now we get a move from Percy's leadoff runner on the outside. Long way to go in this one. Guys are just feeling out their positions. And of course, the other thing that's a little bit deceiving about this race too is coaches don't necessarily follow the form for how you stack your runners in this race. You put guys in based on, okay, do I have a guy maybe running an anchor that's a little bit more stubborn than everybody else and won't give up a lead? So even though he's not my fastest guy, I want him running the anchor leg because he won't give up the lead.
He won't give it up.
Maybe your fastest guy is not that great of a guy runner with the lead, so you want to put him out maybe in the second leg where maybe he's got to chase people down. So it can be a bit deceiving as to what goes on. That is Brett Bartlett, a senior from Hershey, who is running a marvelous opening leg here. And he has opened up a fairly sizable lead over Evanston's #1 runner as we make our way toward the first exchange. Percy, Evanston, Cahokia running 1, 2, 3 as we get ready for the first exchange. A little problem with traffic here as Naperville Central's opening runner is stuck in a little bit of traffic. And a poor exchange off the start there by Hersey is going to cost them a few seconds. Mike Brower, the junior, now has the baton.
Yeah, that was not a good exchange.
No,
Jim.
not at all. And granted, exchanges aren't that critical in this race, but at this level of competition, you certainly like to have cleaner exchanges than Hersey had to start off the second leg.
Well, every second counts in a state championship.
So far, Kenny, a very impressive race being run by the Cahokia runners. They haven't had the lead at all, but they're right in there with the leaders. Hersey #1, Evanston 2, Cahokia #3. And we have a lead group of about 5 runners, and just past that, we have the #2 runner for York. So again, York, from a team standpoint, they want to get some points out of this race. And the lead order has stayed pretty well the same through the first 400 meters of leg #2. Continuing to lead is Mike Brower from Hersey. Running behind him in second place from Evanston Township is Tristan Roche. He's a junior, and he's hanging in there in second place right now. Things continuing to sort themselves out here as we come down to roughly 250 meters remaining here in leg #2 of this race. Hersey has had the lead since about midway through the opening leg, and they have continued to hold it. In case you're wondering about Hersey's qualifying time, they were in the same heat as Pontiac. Hersey was at 7:55.95. Evanston's Roche has taken the lead coming down the front straightaway. Evanston, Cahokia running 1-2, Downers Grove North 3rd, Barrington is 4th. The first exchange will be made by Hersey. Taking the baton is Rich Daubert. He's a senior. And right behind him from Evanston Township High is number 430, Anthony Lesmus. He's a senior.
But Evanston is right on his heels, Jim.
Hersey #1, Evanston #2, Downers Grove North 3, Barrington #4. York Township still hanging back there at #6. We have a lead group of 5 runners. And you get the feeling that the York Dukes are just trying to keep in touch right now. By the way, we should mention Donald Sage is listed on York's relay team, but he is not running. Paul Metzger, a senior, will run the anchor leg for York. Hersey and Evanston running 1-2. Downers Grove North 3, Barrington #4. And the Pontiac Indians have gotten back in it. They are #5, and they are starting to pick up the pace a little bit. Running this leg is Steve Walls, a senior from Pontiac, and he and his teammates, who were really a non-factor for all intents and purposes about 300 meters ago, now challenging for the lead.
It's going to take the lead now.
Very important how they stack up now, because who gets the baton first can be very, very critical, especially when you're running that final relay leg. Evanston continuing to lead here. Evanston 1, Hersey #2, Pontiac #3. And Evanston will get their baton first. William Archope, he will take the baton, and he will do so with about a 20-meter lead. And now it's just going to be a game of chase if anybody can catch the Evanston Wildcats. And he is absolutely flying as he hits the backstretch for the first time.
He has a really nice lead.
You know, it seems year after year, Kenny, Evanston comes down here. They don't necessarily have the people who catch a lot of notice individually, but they always come down here and pile up points. They do the same thing in the girls' track meet every year. And lo and behold, at the end of the day, many times the Wildcats are left there standing with most of the other top teams in the state.
Well, Coach May does a great job at Evanston Township High School.
Evanston number 1, Pontiac number 2, Hersey. They've run a very strong race. They're number 3, Downers Grove North and Barrington running shoulder to shoulder for 4 and 5. One more lap to go. This is the 3,200 meter run in Class AA. Aaron Walls, the senior for Pontiac. He is running number 2 right now. Can he run down first place? Carlo Oviedo of Hersey, he is running 3rd right now. The field compressing just a little bit. The question right now is Walls going to have enough room to catch first place?
Well, he's gaining.
William Arto of Evanston, he is number 1. Aaron Walls of Pontiac, he is running 2nd. Walls has been picking up ground. We have 150 meters to go. Time, by the way, we are hitting 7.5 minutes right now.
It's a sprint now.
Artope and Walls coming down the straightaway. Artope moves out. He's running right down the line between lanes 1 and 2. It appears as though the Evanston Wildcats are going to hang on. They will take first. Pontiac will get 2nd. Hersey 3, DG North 4. Barrington comes across number 5. Naperville North 6. And the York Dukes end up finishing 10th in this race. So they miss out on an opportunity to grab a few points. And watching some of the other members of the York relay team, they know they have missed out on an opportunity. But Evanston High School, 7:44.69, pretty good time on a very hot day.
I would think great time on a very hot day. Coming down that last 150 meters, Evanston had to hold on, Jim, but hey, they come away with the victory.
Let's take a look at the last 150 meters of this race. Now remember, with about 300 meters to go, it looked like Walls might have a shot at catching Arto for first place, but not quite.
Not quite. You see Arto, he refuses to quit. Remember, we talked about guys that would not give up the lead in the anchor leg. This young man refused to give up that lead. A good victory for Evanston Township High School.
They take the 10 points that you get for taking first place. So the Wildcats with a good start to this 99 track meet. Up next, the 400-meter relay in Class A. The top qualifying school, Rock Falls. Yesterday in the prelims, or I take that back, the top qualifying school is Luther South, excuse me, in the middle of the track. You go to the middle of the track now for the best times in these relays. 43.47 for Luther South. The state record in this event in Class A is held by Luther South. They set it back in 1991 at 42.5. Luther South, their first opportunity to pick up some points in this event. Leading off for them will be Mark Willie, a sophomore. We should point out that Daniel Rush, who we talked about in the open, who is also entered in the individual 100 and 200, he is on the list as running the 3rd leg in this 4x100 relay.
Boy, it seems like every year, Jim, Luther South in Class A. We always talk about Luther South. They have an outstanding program.
The times to qualify in this event were very, very close among the top teams. Hales Franciscan, they're in lane 4. To the right of your screen to Luther South in the orange. They came in here just 7/100ths of a second behind Luther South qualifying time. And right behind them, Farmington. So this could be a very, very tight race. We have talked about Luther South as being the favorites. They are, but this is one of those times where you could see the winner come from as far out as maybe lane 2 or lane 6 or 7. We had an event here last week at the Girls State Track and Field Championships where a runner in lane 9 won. You don't see that very often at all.
Well, one lane I would not want to be in is lane 9 or lane 1.
That's why in the sprints, the faster times, they get you a spot in the middle of the track. Again, running a little bit ahead of schedule here, so they have not called the runners to the blocks yet, and now they have done so, so we're about ready to go here. Remember, 3rd leg for Luther South will be Daniel Rush, which makes you believe when you have your fastest guy running the 3rd leg, that probably means the anchorman is not that good at passing the baton. And Rush obviously has no problem with taking it or passing it off. 4 legs, 100 meters apiece, once around. The runners stay in their lanes the entire time. We did have some problems with false starts yesterday in the prelims, which DQ'd some teams, but this is a clean start here. And it appears, at least for the time being, that Cairo in lane 6 has gotten off to the best start of anybody in this event. And quite frankly, Luther South is having a little bit of a problem. Hales in lane 4 has caught up. Farmington in lane 3 also having a very good run. Now this is the leg that Daniel Rush is running for Luther South. Now we come to the final exchange, and the first exchange is made all the way out in lane 7. That's Harrisburg holding the lead. Harrisburg won, Cairo number 2. Harrisburg with an outstanding relay. They'll win Cairo number 2. It looked like lane 3 Farmington for 4th place, and Bishop Mack in lane 8 may have gotten 4th.
How often do you see lane 7 come away with the win in the sprints?
Well, Kenny, we talked about it. Just look at the prelim times that all these teams have put up. And again, when you see them that close, it means you're going to have a good race. And that is not easy to do. An outstanding run by the 4 runners from Harrisburg.
Boy, look at how far out ahead he is, Jim. In lane 7, he gets the baton, and he just picks them up and lays them down. And they win this one pretty easily.
Jesse Sayas got the lead, but that's only the easy part. He had to hold
the lead. And Sayas with a nice lean.
What a great job. Unofficial time is 42.77, just a little bit off the state record of 42.5. Next up, the 400-meter relay in Class AA. Our top qualifying team. We talked a little bit about them in the open. Thornwood at 42.49, right with them in the qualifying. Bolingbrook High School. Always have good sprinters coming out of Bolingbrook. And then Libertyville running out in lane 6. The state record for this event set just last year by they ran 41.47. So if we see as tight of a race in this one as we saw in the Class A 400-meter relay, who knows? We might get a chance of seeing another state record.
Class AA, IHSA record.
Thornwood, one of the few schools that yesterday that didn't have any mishaps, really. Almost all the other big team contenders have problems with false starts, hitting hurdles, all sorts of other things. But Thornwood coming into pretty good shape. That's Byron Rupp, a junior. He'll run the opening leg for Thornwood. And probably the most memorable moment for a Thornwood grad in recent days was Cliff Boyd standing in left field and not moving as Sammy Sosa hit that game-winning homer on Friday. I take that back. But that was Wednesday. Wednesday against the Marlins, yeah. Start is clean. Bolingbrook running in lane 5. Thornwood is in lane 4 and getting off to a good start for Bolingbrook is Jermaine Cooper, the sophomore. And the Raiders appear to be handing off the baton in good shape. And Bolingbrook right now has eaten up 2 of the staggers to their right and held off everybody else to their left. The Raiders have the lead as we go to the 3rd leg. Running the anchor leg for Bolingbrook will be Steve Monson, a senior. And the Raiders do indeed make the first exchange. It's Bolingbrook 1, Thornwood 2 as they come down the front straightaway. Bolingbrook's race all the way. The fight is going to be for 2nd place, and it's going to go to Libertyville. Thornwood finishes 3rd, and 4th, it appeared Galesburg in lane 3. The unofficial time, 4:1.66, just a little bit longer than the state record by Lake Park, anchored by Anthony Moorman, that was set 1 year ago. But what a wonderful job by the Bolingbrook Raiders. Kenny, that was textbook. They didn't have any problems. They got off to a good start when Jermaine Cooper broke out of the blocks first. He ate up a couple of the staggers. The exchanges were good, and there's really not a lot to complain about by the Raiders' effort.
No, the exchange was great here. This is the last exchange. Bolingbrook gets out to such a great lead. All he had to do was just hold the lead. A beautiful exchange. Picking him up, laying him down, beautiful stride, and I tell you what, he could just coast to victory, Jim, and 10 points for Bolingbrook. The battle was for 2nd place.
You know what? Put that one in the instructional video, that exchange that Bolingbrook had in that final leg of the relay. That was just beautiful. It was clean. Monson got the baton in full stride, and that's exactly what you want in any relay. 3,200 meter relay, or excuse me, 3,200 meter run coming up for Class A now. Take a look at the field. The #1 qualifying time, and remember, they qualify through their sectional performances in this event. Dustin Frankie of Eureka ran a 9:30.6 as he qualified for this event. But you know what? Ryan Young was right there with him. The senior from Prairie Central, he qualified at 9:30.7. So this should be essentially a two-horse race between Frankie and Ryan Young. But then again, some strange things happen when you have those qualifying teams coming in and not everybody is together. So don't count any of these other guys out as well. The state record in this event, 9:10.86, set back in 1985 by Troy Maddox of Woodland. Now we should point out that even though, and to the right of the screen you see Dustin Frankie of Eureka, that Ryan Young of Prairie Central, we do not see him lined up where he is supposed to be lined up. So it appears that he has been scratched out of this race. So Dustin Frankie of Eureka now becomes a very heavy favorite to win this. And we should also note that his teammate John Houseworth, a freshman, is in the race with him. So he may be able to get a little bit of help. The prospects of seeing an outstanding race between the top two individuals in the state in this event somewhat evaporate a little bit as Young not in the lineup for some reason. So now let's see how Frankie decides to run the race. He's a junior. His sectional time again, 9:30.6. And right now he has decided to settle into third place.
I don't think you want to jump out into such a quick lead so early, Jim. You have so much time remaining in this race.
Running in third right now, and running in first place right now is Dan Clark, a senior from Prairie Central. So even though Young not out there, Prairie Central still with a pretty darn good runner out there. Clark qualified in the second and the third group, which means out of the qualifiers for the race, he had the 7th best sectional time at 9:55.8. But a long way to go in this one. You see a lot of shuffling and shifting because remember, because this encompasses the entire state, that many of these runners don't see each other that often, if at all, during the course of the year. So you have to have guys out there running around trying to figure out, okay, what's going to happen in this one. But we see Frankie now moving into second place. And a lead pack of about 5 runners as we've gone by about, 700 meters so far in this race. Again, the state record would seem to be pretty untouchable in this race, 9:10.86 set back in 1985. But continuing to lead the race is Dan Clark of Prairie Central. He's got Frankie right with him in second. Came through the first 800 meters in about 2:20, maybe a little bit less than that. And right now it certainly seems that Frankie of Eureka is content just to stay out on the shoulder of Clark and let the race more or less come to him. Frankie has got himself into a good position. You notice how he's on the outside of that lead pack. Didn't want to get caught in and pinched in against the inside of the track. But again, nobody running away from anybody at this point of the race.
I like that strategy. You know where everyone's located. There's a lot of time remaining in the race. You're not really in a hurry right now. And, you know, you hate to be a dead point, Jim, but this is the warmest it's been down here since we've been doing these broadcasts. I would imagine this is a very, very difficult race to run in this heat.
Now, Frankie is also the top qualifier for the 1,600-meter run, which we will see a little bit later on. So he also has to be concerned about leaving something in the tank for the 1,600. But it appears that Frankie is just running right there on the inside of the first lane now. He's content. He can see everything around him, and he's just more or less cruising along as we have passed 3 laps now in this 3,200 meters. Dan Clark continuing to hold the lead. John Schaefer is running in second place right now. And we should also mention that Ryan Young is also entered in the 1,600 meters, so it could very well be that He decided not to run this race. He was part of the 3,200 meter relay. Decided not to run this race and save something for the 1,600 meters. Now Frankie beginning to make a little bit of move as they go into the corner. It's John Schaefer of Hoopstown who is holding the lead right now as they are coming across the 1,600 meter mark as soon as they come down this straightaway.
Boy, Frankie is right there.
Yeah, Frank, I'm telling you, Kenny, the way he's run this race so far has been nothing short of brilliant. He has been in total control of this race the entire way. And now moving out into the front as we pass the halfway mark of the race is Steve Wilson, a sophomore from Elmwood. Now, Wilson may be a guy to be reckoned with here. He's a sophomore. He had the third best qualifying time in the state. And apparently what he's decided to do now is he's going to see if Frankie can go with them, because Wilson, the less experienced of the lead runners in this event, has decided to pick up the pace a little bit, and he's taken a lead of about 5 meters down the back stretch. Frankie is right there with him, but it certainly appears that Wilson has decided, you know what, I'm going to run out here and see if anybody comes with me.
Do you think Wilson may have made a move too soon?
No, Kenny, I don't. I think what he's doing is he knows he's running against a more experienced runner in Frankie, a junior, and Wilson, I think, just wants to see what the guy has, see who comes with him, because I'll tell you what, it's a lot easier to get out in front of the pack like Wilson is doing, see if only 2 or 3 guys maybe come with you, then let the pace settle back in, and then you're only racing against 2 or 3 guys, rather than what we saw earlier where we had a pack of about 8 or 9 runners, and you've got to fight your way through traffic. So Wilson has decided to move his way out, and he's done a fairly good job of holding on to the lead. Looks cool. That's a big plus, too. But now Wilson's pace has dropped off. 5:57 as we come up on 3 laps remaining, and Frankie is still right there. And now it appears that Wilson has slowed down considerably, and Frankie is right up on his shoulder, and Frankie right here will decide whether he wants to take control of the race or not, because I guarantee you he's not going to run out there in lane 2 down the backstretch. And he's trying to pick it up just a little bit and move back into the first lane so he can hold the lead. But, you know, Wilson is right there with him. So what Wilson's move did is it pulled the 4 runners we see now out to the front of the pack, and essentially, at least for the moment, has made this a 4-person race. And for the first time in this race, Frankie looks like he's trying to establish control of this thing. We have a little bit more than 2 laps remaining. That's Dustin Frankie of Eureka. 9:30.6, the top sectional performance. He's the #1 runner in the state coming into this event. And he continues to hold the lead.
Did you notice coming around the turn, Frankie took a little peek. There he does it again.
He's doing it again. He's checking to see where Wilson is. But he's got people coming up on his outside, and that's the immediate problem. Those are 2 runners from Macomb that are going right with. One is Mitchell Baker, a junior. And the other is Bo Meredith, a junior. And now we may see the advantage of the Macomb runners being able to work together a little bit.
Block him in?
Exactly, that's what they could do. Mitchell Baker, the 4th best qualifying time coming in, and he's a very experienced runner. And I'll tell you what, right now, Frankie has a problem on his hands, because now the pack is separated out. Wilson has dropped out. Frankie is running #1. Running 2 is Mitchell Baker. #3 is Bo Meredith. And it's really up to Meredith to stay with those lead 2 runners. He can really help out his teammate if he can jump up into the fight here. There's no doubt that Baker is the stronger runner of the 2 runners from Macomb. And it seems that Meredith is starting to labor a little bit, and if indeed Baker is going to go at Frankie, it's going to come down to a 2-person race. We are coming up on the final lap here in the 3,200 meter run in the Class A state track meet. Frankie holds the lead as we enter into the final lap. Frankie is leading, Baker on his shoulder, and Meredith has moved back up into the fight. This could get pretty good here down the stretch, because Frankie knows he's got 2 guys on the same team right with him, and they will work together.
And Baker is right there with them.
Baker is making his move as we enter the final 300 meters, but Frankie is not giving in. And again, Meredith starts to fall back a little bit. Wilson is in 4th place. Frankie trying to hold off the charge. What Baker is going to have to do here is just drop in behind Frankie and try to make his move coming off the final turn. We enter the final 200 meters. Frankie's starting to pull away just a bit, but Baker not giving any quarter as of yet. Coming into the final turn of the 3,200 meters, Frankie has the lead. He's starting to pour it on.
He's pulling away now.
Frankie legging it out. Baker can do nothing about it. What a brilliant race that has been run by Dustin Frankie in the 3,200 meters. Eureka will get 10 points. Frankie gets a state championship. Baker finishes second. McCombs Bo Meredith finishes third in a fantastic race run by Steve Wilson of Elmwood. He will finish fourth. The Macomb guys, they really tried to work together, but Frankie wouldn't allow it. What a fantastic race by Dustin Frankie.
Just a beautiful race, Jim. He saved his energy. He was always right there. He didn't turn it on too soon. He turned it on when he had to. Just a beautiful race by Frankie.
And again, it seemed like he didn't make any mistakes the entire race, because remember, with about a lap and a half to go, he had both the Macomb runners starting to creep up on him, and he knew what was going on, and he didn't allow Meredith and Baker to catch him at the same time. Here's the key point of the race.
Right.
Frankie knows he's got two guys in the same team right behind him, but you see what? Frankie steps it up just a little bit, and even though Baker pulls even with them, he's pulling away from Meredith, and he's taking Meredith out of the equation.
And I think one key was Frankie stayed on the inside, and Baker had to go outside around to try to stay even with Frankie, but Frankie just refused to give up that lead. Just a brilliant race run by Frankie. He never fell too far behind. He was always right there. When he needed to turn on that kick down the final 100 meters or so, he really turned it on.
Unofficial time, 9:29 for Dustin Frankie as he claims the 3,200 meter run in Class A. Time now for the AA 3,200 meter run. This is going to be one of the premier events of the state track meet. Ed Torres from Wheeling, he qualified with the best sectional time of 9:15. Donald Sage of York, he had the second best sectional qualifying time of 9:18. But let's not count out Mike Cropper from Conant at 9:19 qualifying time, and Tim Keller of West Chicago, who qualified at 9:20. The state record in this one has stood for a long, long time. Tom Graves of Sandburg back in 1977 ran 8:57.9. Ed Torres of Wheeling is the #1 qualifier. He's on the inside, and in case you're wondering about his brother George, there was a eligibility controversy with George Torres, and it ended up with him deciding that he wasn't going to compete in track for Wheeling High School this year. But Ed is here. He comes in as the #1 qualifier. Donald Sage of York, #2. You would expect the race would be between them, but as we told you when we set the field, a lot of quality runners in this event. And a lot of jostling around going on in there in the back stretch. And you see many of the runners haven't come into the inside of the track as of yet. But if you're going to get a fast time in an event like this, it helps to have somebody run well out in front of everybody else, and that's what we've got going in the early part of this race.
Let the other guys set the pace. You just keep up with it.
And you see the main pack of runners not too concerned at the fact that we've had a big move to the front of the race. And that is Mike Cropper of Conant, who blazes through the opening 400 meters in 1:03. Now again, let's go through what the strategy might be here. Obviously, Cropper, since he comes in with the third best qualifying time, he can run this type of race if he so chooses. But basically what he's going to try and do is he's just going to try and set a pace so far out there and see if these other guys decide, okay, I'm not going with them, I'm not going with them. And by the time they decide to start to try and run him down, it's a little bit too late.
Yeah, but on the other hand, can he keep this pace up? A lot of energy he's using right now.
And it's very, very hard to lead. But you know what? Everybody else has decided, you know what, let him go. But he's opened up a good 30, 35 meter lead in the rest of the pack. And at least for the time being right now, Cropper looks like he's having no problems whatsoever out at the front of the pack. Cropper leading. Torres is well back. He's running in second place right now. And Donald Sage currently is running fourth. And Cropper about to finish off the first 800 meters, and he's going to do it in a very, very quick 2:11. Torres leading the pack. And everybody else falling in right behind Torres. Brad Bennett, a senior from Hoffman Estates, is running in third place right now.
Your leader is still Cropper.
I'm telling you what, though, Kenny, the longer this goes on, because now if Cropper can hold this lead and somebody has to make a move to go out and chase him down, now the people chasing him down are going to have to expend a lot of energy. And I'll guarantee you at the front of that pack, there are guys in there starting to think, you know what, I better start chasing him down, because we're about 2.5 laps into the race right now, and Cropper is still holding the lead, although right now it appears to be holding steady at about, again, 35 meters or so.
He looks pretty strong.
It's awfully, awfully hard at this level of competition to just flat run away from everybody, though. But so far, Cropper has done it. Torres is still hanging in there, second place at the front of the pack. Bennett is third. Donald Sage is running in fourth. And Sage has one of his teammates right with him. The split at 600 meters is 3:22. Still very, very quick. You saw Nate Phillips of Wheaton Warrenville South there for a moment. If he could pull some points in this event, it would be huge for the Tigers' hopes of winning a state title. Mike Cropper continues to be the lead. Senior from Conard High School in Hoffman Estates. And his lead has shrunk to about 20 meters or so, and the guys chasing him down are Sage and Torres.
Just like you thought it would be.
Well, what he's doing here, Kenny, is he's trying to hold the lead for as long as he can. I think what he's doing now is he's willing to let those guys catch up, and he's going to let them expend some energy by leading for a while. But the lead is evaporating very, very quickly. Cropper, Sage, and then Torres. That's 1, 2, 3 running right now, as Cropper's lead has all but vanished. And now he has the two top distance runners in the state running right behind him and soon to pass him, Donald Sage and Ed Torres. Sage is going to take the lead right as they cross 1,600 meters, 4:34 the split. And Ed Torres and Donald Sage have now pretty well decided that they are going to take control of the race. The question now, can Cropper kick it back into gear and stay with the lead pack? I guarantee you this, he has made those guys expend a little bit more energy than maybe they would have liked by having to run him down.
These are the two guys we thought would battle for first and second place in this race.
And of course, the last couple of years down here, we have seen the Torres brothers just make life very difficult for Sage and Mark Pilja of Naperville North. As a matter of fact, it was a very heated battle one year with some accusations flying back and forth about dirty pool. Sage is your leader. Ed Torres running second, and now Mike Cropper of Conant is starting to drop back just a little bit. Coming up on 5 laps into the race, Sage and Torres running 1-2. Not only are these two of the top runners in the state, they are 2 of the top junior distance runners in the entire country. 3 laps to go. And it has basically evolved into a 2-man race. Torres, for the moment, has decided to drop back in behind Sage. Just a hair less than 2 meters, probably the distance. And Sage obviously very well aware that it's just he and Torres out in front of the pack with a lot of room to work with, in spite of the fact that Sage can't really see what Torres is doing behind him. And now Sage pulling out just a little bit, opening up a lead of about 3 or 4 meters. Donald Sage will be key to York's hopes of winning a state championship, but also do not forget that, as we talked about in the open, Kyle Erickson, a hurdler, has qualified for both finals in the 2 hurdle events, and he will also, between Sage and Erickson, be paramount to the hopes of the York Dukes winning a state championship. Donald Sage has 2 laps to go, and Torres has now fallen behind quite a bit. Split time at about 6:50 with 800 meters to go. Cropper has fallen back to 3rd place. He is pretty well running all by himself. Now, a development farther back in the pack that is key for the Dukes of York is that Peter Sione, a junior, has moved into 5th place. He would grab some points if he can stay in that spot. And Sione now is moving up into third. And with Sage out in front and Sione, who knows, maybe he can run down Cropper for third. This could turn into a very big race for the Dukes of York.
They want to get to points. You need as many points as you can get.
And now Donald Sage is taking this race by the throat. He has 500 meters to go. He has opened up a huge lead on Ed Torres. Now remember, Sage and Torres will also be back later on today. They will run in the 1600 meters, so they have to have something left in the tank. Split time with 1 lap to go, 7:57 for Donald Sage. Ed Torres of Wheeling in second place. He really doesn't have anybody near him. Cropper is running in third, and Sione is running into a little bit of a problem for York. He has just been passed. He's dropped into sixth.
Did you notice Sage just turned back to see where Torres was? Well, you think now that Sage has this race under control, maybe he could coast a little bit, Jimmy? Save a little bit for his next race?
I think that would be the wise thing to do, Kenny, because he's not going to set a state record here. The wise thing to do would be to save something in the tank for later on in the 1600 meters. He has Torres beat. Donald Sage of York making the final turn, coming down the last 100 meters. He has an extremely comfortable lead.
Yeah, I would just coast this last 100 meters. He has another race to run.
And he's got a kick going, but I'm sure it's not the A kick. So Donald Sage is going to win the 3,200 meters. Unofficial time, 9:02.5. Ed Torres of Wheeling is going to come in second. And let's see if Mike Cropper can hang on for third for Conant. Looks like we've got a good battle coming in for third place. And it's going to go down to the wire. And Cropper with just that extra little
one kick.
He'll hold off and get third. But Peter Sione of York is going to finish seventh. So the only points out of this event, the big ones for York, as Donald Sage wins, grabs 10 points, an outstanding race. It came down to the two runners we thought it would. And maybe the early strong pace by Cropper took more out of Torres than it did out of Donald Sage.
Here's that battle for third. Now watch Cropper just put it in the high kick. Hey, he led most of this race. He wants to get some points and a medal, and just puts the kick on to finish third.
And you know what? That's nothing more than pride right there, because Conant is not in the fight for the team standings. But Cropper, seeing a guy next to him at the finish line, that competitiveness kicks in, and you say, you know what? I'm dog tired. I might even be able to ready to lose my lunch here, but you know what? I'm not letting one more guy pass me, and he did not. When we come back, the 110-meter high hurdles as we continue at Eastern Illinois in the 1999 Boys State Track and Field Championships. The broadcast rights to today's event have been granted to Fox Sports Net Chicago and Intersport by the Illinois High School Association. Any rebroadcast or reproduction of this event without the written consent of Fox Sports Net Chicago, Intersport, and the IHSA is prohibited. Take a look at the standings as they shake down through the events we have run so far. In Class A, Eureka, with their strength in the distance races and the distance relays, on top by 1 point. Caneland running third right now, 4 points out of first place. As for Class AA, Salem on the strength of some field events with 11.5. Evanston won a relay. They have 10. Bolingbrook had that victory in the 400-meter relay. So a little bit too early to tell, as a lot of schools are picking up points so far. Nobody has been able to duplicate their success so far. Time now for the Class A 110-meter high hurdles. The top qualifier in the event, Vince Singleton from Bishop McNamara. His time yesterday, 14.82. He was the only qualifier to go below 15 seconds. The state record in this event, held by Phil Sakenga, was set 2 years ago, 13.93, and Sakenga was running for Timothy Christian. The runners are all ready to go, standing in the blocks.
Well, the start is very important here, Jim. You need to get a good start, and your timing and your rhythm has to be perfect going through these hurdles.
Saw Kyle Franklin, that's Brian Wright from Herscher, Colin Peterson from Arcola, and Singleton before he dropped into the blocks. Now Mark Voss in lane 7 from Timothy Christian We all know about the fine hurdling program they have there at that school, so he would certainly have to be considered a contender here. Singleton broke out in very good shape. He got to the opening hurdle first. Singleton has the lead in the middle of the track. He has McDermott right with him. It's Singleton, McDermott, and Mark Voss. Now it's Singleton and Voss. Singleton, number 1. Voss goes number 2. And Jason McDermott of Morrison, he hit the third to last hurdle and went down in a heap. And he was right in the race until that point.
He was right there until that point. He was right there. But Vince Singleton got out to a great start, a time of 14.80. Beautiful start by Singleton.
And what a disappointing finish for Jason McDermott, because there was basically a 3-person race coming down the middle of the track. Singleton, McDermott, and Mark Voss all together.
But look at that start by Singleton. He hits those hurdles. Now watch as the hurdle goes right here. And this is the one he hit.
This is the one right here.
This is the one right here.
And he got it with his trailing leg with the knee.
He was right there too. Singleton goes on to win the race just with the nice leans.
And Voss ends up number 2, third place, going to Kyle Franklin in lane 1 from Byron, the sophomore. So Singleton with an outstanding performance, and disappointment for Jason McDermott. We should point out he is a junior. He has the opportunity to come back and compete in this event next year. Time now for the 110-meter high hurdles in Class AA. And this is a race that is very important for the team standings, because John Schweigert from Wheaton Warrenville South, he qualified with the top time at 14.16. Kyle Erickson of York is next to him in lane 4. And then over in lane 6, we have Brandon Jordan of Morgan Park. The state record in this event, the 110-meter high hurdles for Class AA, held by 3 runners: Derek Cole, Kenneth Moore, Pierre Lineback. Lineback the most recently, he ran 13.90 in the finals in 1997. We should also point out that in lane 3 is Kevin Noel, a sophomore from Naperville Central, and being the youngest runner in the field in this event, he has to be the sleeper. And I can tell you this about him: he is also a guy you're going to be hearing about in football for the next 3 years. One of the top receivers in the state. He's one of the hottest high school football prospects among his classmates, which is the class of 2002.
Only a sophomore. We may see him the next couple of years.
And again, in the green and white uniform, in lane 4 is Kyle Erickson. John Schweigert from Wheaton Warrenville South is in the middle of the track. Start is clean. It looked like Erickson stumbled a little bit coming out of the blocks, and taking the lead is Schweigert in lane 5. Schweigert has the lead, and a rather big one. Erickson is trying to run him down. Schweigert comes to the last hurdle. He will finish first. Erickson finishes second, and finishing in third from Morgan Park is Brandon Jordan. A bad start may have cost Erickson.
I think you're right. He did not get out of the starting blocks quickly. And Schweigert had a beautiful start for Wheaton Warrenville South.
Well, we talked about Kevin Noel being an outstanding football player. Schweigert's not too bad either. He's more known for track, but he's a very good football player. And again, it looked like Erickson, it looked like he stumbled coming out of the start, Kenny. It looked like he had his steps wrong between the first and second hurdles.
Between the first and second hurdles, he stumbled a little bit. His steps were a little choppy. And in a meet like this, the state championship, you don't have room for error. And you see Schweigert, perfect race. He comes away with the 10 points for Wheaton Warrenville South.
Finishing in 4th place was Chris Jones from Springfield Southeast out in lane 9. But Schweigert, what an outstanding race. And it was a big race for the Tigers because they get 10 points. But we should point out in the last 2 events, the Dukes of York have picked up 18 after getting a first place in the 3,200 meters and then getting a second place here in the 110-meter high hurdles. But John Schweigert of the Tigers, big race for their hopes. They needed to get that one, and Schweigert delivered. Next, the 100-meter dash in Class A. Here's a look at the field, and we talked about this race at the top as being one of the key matchups, at least individually. Daniel Rush of Luther South, he'll be in the middle of the track. He qualified at 10.83. But right with him in the qualifying was DJ Glenn, a senior from Spring Valley Hall. He qualified at 10.95. We have already seen Russ Peterson of Mantino once. He'll be running in lane 6. Lou Beach Graves of Cairo in 1990 set the Class A record in this event with a time of 10.32. Remember that not only will we see Glenn and Rush here in the 100-meter dash, they will also be running in the 200-meter dash. The only difference is Glenn had the top qualifying time in the 200, so he'll be in lane 5 in that one. Rush will be on the other side when we get to the 200. But first things first, 0.3 of a second separating out the field in this event.
When you talk about start being important, you really need to get out of the blocks perfectly here in the 100-meter dash.
You need to get out low.
Right, you can't come up too soon.
In a lot of ways, these single lane races are very interesting because you know that Spring Valley Hall and Luther South haven't competed in a lot of the same meets during the course of the year.
False
start.
Yep. Lane 7 or 8.
It was, I doubt if it was 8 because it certainly seemed that Tad Hewlett of Robinson
7.
got out very, very slowly. It is. It's lane 7. And remember, these are NCAA rules. That's Eamon Shelby of Farmington, a senior.
Here it is. Oh, man. Yeah. Wasn't even close.
And this is one of the cruelest, and I don't mean this in a bad way, cruel is unfair. I just mean cruelest rules. You false start in the state meet, and that's it. You don't get a second chance.
Boy, he's upset.
And you just can't imagine what is going through the young man's mind right now because he's a senior, and this is it. And you false start in the state meet, and you don't get a chance to correct the mistake. But you know, it's one of those rules. Everybody knows it going in. You know you have no room for error. What a horrible, horrible mistake for Shelby, and he will not get a chance to compete in the 100-meter final now. And you still see Shelby behind the rest of the field. Just can't believe what just happened. He had a chance, too, at 11.18 as a qualifying time. Guarantee you everybody will be a little slower getting out that time, and they were. Glenn has the lead, but he's got Rush right with him. And it's Hewlett over in lane 8 making a good run at it, but it's going to be DJ Glenn winning the race. Rush finishes second.
Tell you what, DJ Glenn really hung on. Running in lane number 4, 10.70.
The unofficial time, which is very slow, but again, once one guy false starts in the race, you know you're not going to get a second one because all these guys are going to sit for that extra half heartbeat if they have to.
Exactly, and it was not a great start by anybody because you already had one guy to false start. But you see Rush trying to catch up with Glenn, but Glenn would not give up this lead, and he just hangs on. Rush will finish second. DJ Glenn with the lean right here to nip Rush from Luther South.
Finishes second, but not by much. And remember, we will see Glenn and Rush again in the 200 meters. And if it's anything like that race was, we're in for a treat because that was very, very close. Next, the AA 100-meter dash. The top qualifier, a senior, Jackie Jordan, out of North Chicago. 10.89 as a qualifier. And we had some very, very quick qualifying times in this event. The range in qualifying, 10.89 for Jackie Jordan. And the highest qualifying time was 11.06, so less than 0.02 of a second. The difference in the qualifying times. From a team standpoint, Evan Baskerville of Thornwood, he is in the race. And Obia in lane 9 would be the hometown favorite, being from Charleston. AA record in this event, 10.37 by Steve Thomas of Kenwood in 1986. I would imagine that we're going to see a little bit of a slow start in this one again, too.
Right, because you've already had the one false start, so everybody will wait. But a name like Jordan, are you surprised he had the fastest qualifying time? And he's from North Chicago.
And this is a senior-dominated race in the middle of the track. Lane 3, Mark Moore, senior, Peoria Manual. Lane 4, Ronell Muscovali, senior from Rock Island. Jackie Jordan is a senior. Brian Smith from Stag in lane 6. He is also a senior. And again, a little bit of a slow start, but understandably so. In lane 4, Ronell Muscovali came out low, stayed low. He has the lead coming down the track. In lane 1, Byron Ruff is there as well. It looks like Muscovali gets it. And in lane 1, Byron Ruff from Thornwood with a good run as well.
Boy, Muscovali, if he gets it, he got it by a hair.
And if he did get it, Kenny, he got it because it's one of the lowest starts I've seen by anybody in a long, long time. He was still not straight up, about 15 meters out, which is what you want. 10.76, the unofficial time.
Boy, what a great start, huh? Watch how low Muscovali stays before he comes up into the full sprint. Now watch lane 1, but Muscovali is really picking him up and laying him down in lane 4. Lane 1 is Brian Ruff.
And it looks like Thornwood in this race, boy, you know what? They may have gone 2-3 because with his lean at the tape, Evan Baskerville in lane 7 may have gotten 3rd place. So it could be a big team haul of points for Thornwood in this event. But Ronell Muscovali, the senior from Rock Island, no doubt he is the winner. Jackie Jordan actually looked like he was going backwards in his lean. Okay, it's definitely Muscovali 1.
Lane 1 is 2.
You know what? It looked like Baskerville got 3rd place. So the Thornwood team doing very well here in the 100-meter dash as they get 2nd, and it appears they have gotten 3rd. We'll have to wait for the official results, but based on the photo, it certainly looked like they went 2-3. Of course, what's going on in the track is only half of our events today here at the Illinois State High School Track and Field Championships. Mark Pinsky has been covering the field events and has this update.
All right, JB, thank you. Our first event of the field events is the shot put. A couple guys to look for include Mike Minton out of Salem in AA. He's your defending champion. In the meantime, in Class A, Matt McCarthy out of Arthur. He came in 10th a year ago. McCarthy, a junior from Arthur, equaled his sectional put with a mark of 56 feet 5 inches. 5 feet better than his best effort a year ago, and good enough for 1st place.
Last year, Matt, you came in 10th. Was there a lot of work you did between now and a year ago?
Yeah, a lot of, training in the weight room and getting quicker and working on technique. Just a lot of practice, and kind of use that as a little incentive to improve this year and, come back and try to win it this year. And it's a great competition over there, and I was just happy to get 1st.
Pat Babcock, a junior out of Stillman Valley, takes 2nd place. His best effort came in the prelims. And junior Joe South from Meridian comes in 3rd. Last year, he ended up 9th overall. So the top 3 in the Class A shot put, McCarthy, Babcock, and South. In AA, Salem's Mike Minton just about equaled last year's put. Minton marks at 60 feet 5 3/4 of an inch, finishing his track and field career with back-to-back shot put titles.
Mike, I know for you, repeating had to be something difficult, but I would assume it was a goal of yours to come back and win it twice.
It was definitely a goal of mine, and you were right. It was very tough this year. I had a lot more pressure on me. Everywhere I went, people were gunning for me, and I didn't improve as much as I had during the season last year, and I got down on myself a little bit, and it's been a hair-pulling year, I'll tell you that.
Junior Clark Wilson from Mount Prospect bettered his preliminary heave to come in 2nd. And it's Ken Kennemy from Palatine Fremd with a toss of 58-11 3/4 coming in 3rd. Again, top 3 in the AA shot put, Minton, Wilson, and Kennemy. On to the Class A discus now, where Matt McCarthy would be the favorite. He is your defending champion, but he'd have to beat Garrett Middleton from Nashville to win back-to-back titles. McCarthy won last year with a throw of 170 8 inches. This time around, his best effort, 158.5. McCarthy comes in 7th. No question this field was extremely tough. Brandon McIntosh from Harrisburg comes in third. Second place goes to Kevin Bewley, a junior from St. Joseph Ogden, who came in 8th last year. And as it turned out, Nashville's Garrett Middleton made this a truly memorable event. Middleton with a record throw, 184 feet 3 inches, breaking Jeff Wood's mark by more than 2 feet. Wood at 181.10 had held the record for 14 years.
What's it mean to you to come downstate, 4th last year, now your name's in the record book?
Well, ever since my 8th grade year, year of throwing, I've been working at it hard, all the time and lifting hard, and it's been my goal since my 8th grade year to come up here and have the state record and win.
So Garrett Middleton is in the IHSA record book, 184.3, the best ever in the Class A discus. In the AA discus, Clark Wilson, who came in second in the shot put, takes 3rd place with a mark of 177.4. Ben Kennedy, a senior from Naperville North, bettered his sectional result by nearly 13 feet to wrap up 2nd place. Mike Minton failed to break his own record of 192.1 set last year, but his throw of 187.7 still good enough to give him another gold medal.
Were you thinking at all about breaking your own record?
Well, I'll tell you what, records are one of those things where, conditions have to be right, and that ring's a little slick. I'm not trying to make excuses or anything, but, records are pretty special and they try to be right. And every time I throw, if I wasn't throwing 192, I get discouraged during the season. But you just can't do those things. And, I was real bitter through the season, but I got a lot of people that love me, my family and coaches, and just helped me out. And I just tried to enjoy this today and just go out and just quit worrying about records and just try to compete, do my best.
Minton's best good enough for the win, Kennedy 2nd, and Wilson 3rd. Coming up, more of the IHSA Track and Field Championships. We're coming right back.
We are just getting started with this spring's IHSA Championship lineup. There are plenty of other events to come over the next few weeks, including both the A and AA baseball and softball championships in June. So stay tuned to Fox Sports Net Chicago all spring long for this spring's IHSA Championship Series as we wrap up the 1998-99 academic year. The 800-meter run in Class A is next. Michael Ordaz of IVC, the top qualifying time, 157.26, but Victor Garcia of Quigley Prep was only 1/10 of a second behind. This could shape up as a very, very good race. Phil Zelke of Walter Lutheran, who we saw here last year have outstanding runs, he is also in the field. And Patton Seagraves of Harrisburg, another senior who is back for one more try. Qualified with the 4th best time and has a little bit of help in the fact that he has his teammate Brian Weiss not only in the race but standing right next to him off of the start. Rob Carter of Clinton in 88, the Class A record at 153.04. If we get a fast race today, who knows, that could fall. What kind of a time will these top 4 runners push each other to in this race? That is the thing that has to be answered over the course of the next little under 2 minutes, because we have 4 outstanding runners, 4 experienced runners, and only 800 meters in which to determine a winner. So we'll have to see who decides to go out fast, and the answer right now is Patton Seagraves of Harrisburg. If there's one runner you expect to be aggressive in this race, it might be Seagraves. And he is certainly being aggressive off the start. He's blasting through the first 200 meters. His catches time the first 200, 27 seconds.
Pretty good.
He is flying, and he's going to make everybody else chase him down. Patton Seagraves of Harrisburg. He is holding the lead right now as we come up on the first 300 meters of the race. This race is short enough where a guy can just decide, hey, I'm just going to go out there and try and run away from everybody. And that appears to be what Seagraves is trying to do. The pack is staying right with him, though. Seagraves comes across the first 800 meters in 55 seconds. He is flying. Going right with him, though, is Michael Ordaz of IVC. And the pack closes in behind Seagraves. Boy, the pace of this race is very, very quick. Seagraves is trying to hang on to the lead. Remember, the A record in this is 1:53.04, and depending on how fast these guys can finish, they may have a shot at that. Seagraves holding on to the lead. Sounds more like a horse name, doesn't it?
Well, you know they're not going to pass him coming around the turn. Can he kick it in now?
Patton Seagraves is holding the lead. Quigley Pep's Victor Garcia is running 2. Seagraves is coming down the front straightaway. It looks like he is going to hang on. Seagraves in the lead of about 3 meters. He will cross the finish line first. Unofficial time, 1:56.2.
From start to finish.
Not very often in what is qualified as a distance race do you see a guy lead from wire to wire, but that is what Seagraves did in this event.
Obviously, that was his strategy, just to outrun everybody, Jim. He broke out of the pack from the beginning, and he never looked back. Now, coming around the turn, he had the lead. It was just by a couple of meters, but then down the stretch, he really started to turn it on, and no one was going to catch Seagraves coming down the stretch. But he comes away with the 10 points, and boy, he still looks very strong. Look at his stride, look at his form. He didn't look tired at all.
Victor Garcia tried to mount the challenge on the back of the track, couldn't get past Seagraves. Garcia ends up finishing 3rd in the race. But as we expected, a very competitive and a very quick 800-meter run in Class A. Now it's time for the Class AA 800-meter run. Top qualifier in this event from New Trier High School, 1:54.18, the top qualifying time. But as we saw last year, Nick Setta from Lockport, another guy to watch. He qualified number 2, 1:54.32, the top qualifying time for Nick Setta. And then Rob Hewlick from Hinsdale Central and Chris Clark from Andrew. And again, in an 800-meter run, you like to see experience, and it's in this race. 3 of the top 4 times put in by seniors. The state record for AA in this event set in 1977, 1:48.9. And as we get ready for the 800-meter run in Class AA, that's a good look at Colin Quinn of Marist High, part of that very prominent Quinn family from the south side of Chicago. Yeah.
Hey.
So I point that out to you.
Thank you very
His
much.
coach, of course, is longtime Marist head track and cross-country coach Pat Quinn. We are underway in the 800-meter run in Class AA. And again, even though Nick Setta did not have the top qualifying time in this event, he may be the guy to keep an eye on throughout the event, and he has broken to the front of the pack and had a little bit of trouble getting to the pole. So we have a lot of traffic out there in the front of the race right now.
They're really bunched together.
Greg Balk of Niles North was holding the lead for a moment down the back stretch, but really many times when you see the runners finally cut to the pole, the big dogs are pretty well let go in, but that was a bit of a fight. And again, Greg Ballock, senior from Niles North, he is holding the lead. But you see Nick Setta well out into the second lane. He didn't want to get caught up in the traffic, and he has made his move to get to the front of the pack. 400 meters gone, 56 seconds the split time. Setta is running in second, Baluk is running in first. And we have a very, very competitive race as we head into the final 300 meters. Setta trying to make his move, Baluk not letting him. And we have 4 runners running side by side down the back stretch. Setta kicks it into a higher gear, but he's having a hard time running away from Dreyer of New Trier. Dreyer is running second, Setta running first. And Nick Setta beginning to pull away as we move into the final 150 meters. Here we come into the final straightaway. 100 meters to go for Nick Setta.
This is where he needs his kick.
And you see the upper build of Nick Setta. He's looking around to see if anybody is with him. The answer is no. Nick Setta of Lockport. He is going to win the 800 meters. His unofficial time, 1:52. Dreyer finishes second. And coming in third, I believe, was Rob Hewlick of Hinsdale Central. So in the end, it pretty well shook out to all the #1 seeds in the race being in front. But as we told you going in, do not be deceived by the fact that Nick Setta had the second best qualifying time he's your champion in the 800-meter run.
He just wanted to qualify, and he showed what he was made of here in the championships. And boy, you talk about his upper body. Look how strong he is.
He is built the way you want an 800-meter runner to be built right now.
Now watch where he makes his move. He goes to the outside, gets lane 2. He'll pass the runner, then he'll go back to the inside. And boy, is he strong, Jim. Just a great athlete.
Kenny, he was having a hard time battling through the traffic. The other runners were really staying up very, very well and made life difficult on Nick Seta. What would you say, Kenny? About 4% body fat, maybe?
Maybe. I was thinking more of about 2%. Boy, but he is just so strong. And here he puts on the kick coming down the stretch, and no one is going to catch Seta. As he turns, takes a look, and sees that, hey, I am the state champion, as he looks for a third time.
Don't really know why he looked over his inside shoulder, but Nick Seta was checking to make sure, and what an outstanding race by the senior from Lockport High as he takes home a state championship. 800-meter relay time now. Class A, of course, will be first. Our top qualifying time, Massac County from Metropolis. They turned in a time of 1:30.36, but you know what? This could be our most competitive race in Class A. Less than a second separated all these teams that qualified for the final. Could be a very, very fast final. And with this many fast teams in the event, the 1984 record set by Cairo High School of 1:28.17 could be in danger. This could be one of those races where lane 1 or lane 9 could even win this thing. That is how tight the times were in qualifying for these 9 teams. It's all going to come down to exchanges and starts.
And those exchanges are so important. You want to get that baton in full stride.
Now, from a team standpoint, Luther South, they're running in lane 6. Lane 7, Eureka. But this is about as wide open as you're going to see any final in a state track meet. Well, wouldn't it be great to have 9 guys coming across the line together? And remember, yesterday in the prelims, we had all sorts of problems with drop batons. And we also should throw in, remember back in the Class A 100-meter final, we had a false start. You want to talk about heartbreak? Have your leadoff man false start in a relay. Also in the 800-meter relay, with the runners as spread out as they are, it's very difficult to tell exactly where everybody is running almost until they come off that final curve. And again, as we have seen in many of the sprints, a little bit of a slow start by nearly the entire field. And as you look at the runners going around the curve, Kenny, it's almost like no one has made up any of the stagger. This is amazing. Remember, Eureka in lane 7. They are among those bidding for a state championship as a team. Luther South, the same story. They are running in lane 6. All the exchanges appear to be fairly even. All the exchanges were clean except for Luther South. They had a problem on their exchange.
It's going to cost them, too.
And they are running well behind the field. If you have to pick out a team that's doing well right now, Villa Grove in lane 8, at least they have made up their stagger. So has Walter Lutheran running in lane 2. First of the exchanges, Massac County, and right in the middle of the track in lane 5, they got out very clean, as did Farmington in lane 4.
And Villa Grove had a terrible exchange.
And what a disappointment for Luther South. They're practically out of it at this point. They are running in lane 6. Right now, it looks like Massac County in lane 5 that they have the lead. And they do indeed make the first exchange. Massac County in the middle of the track. They're going to come around the turn first, but we're going to have a tight finish. The final 100 meters. Here we go. Massac County is running number 1. Out in lane 7. Eureka is number 2. Farmington moving up there in lane 4. Massac County trying to hold on. Massac County 1. Farmington in lane 4, number 2. Beardstown in lane 3. They come in 3rd.
Boy, and I tell you what, Massac County, he almost ran out of his lane. Boy, I tell you, Massac County, that's very, very close. He almost ran out of his lane.
1:30.33, the unofficial time. Not good enough enough for a state record, but good enough for a state championship. We're going to go back to the first exchange and try and see what happened to Luther South. Question is, Kenny, that maybe they dropped the baton.
Let's see if he drops it.
They came to a dead stop. Now that's way out at the front of the field, and Luther South not even in the picture, so we really can't see what happened on their exchange, but they came to a dead stop. I don't know whether the second runner went out too quickly and the first runner couldn't catch up, or they dropped the baton. But whatever the result, that first exchange cost dearly the runners from Luther South. Coming up next, the Class AA 800-meter relay when we continue at the 1999 IHSA Boys Track and Field Championships. It is just about time for the 800-meter relay in Class AA. Top qualifier, Wheaton Warrenville South, 127.73. So they get the run in lane 5. But we have Thornwood in lane 6. They are in the fight for a state championship after going 2-3 in the 100-meter dash. Bolingbrook, they're also in the fight. They're in lane 3. State record 125.7 by East St. Louis Senior in 1975. This is a, excuse me, Kenny, this is a big event for the Wheaton Warrenville South Tigers.
Yeah, Leo's in lane 7. Leo's back in AA now. Remember, a couple of years they were back down in Class A.
I had the pleasure of seeing their football team play this fall. The start is clean. Everybody is out. Again, the favorites, Wheaton Warrenville South. They are running in lane 5. Just up ahead of them in lane 6, Thornwood. So if the Tigers want to do something about their team standing, they need to catch the Thornwood team. And Thornwood right now looks like they're ahead of everybody. They will make the first exchange. They had a little problem on the exchange. They're very slow getting rid of the baton. Runners coming around the first turn. Remember, the stagger has not been completely made up, so it can be a little deceiving. Out in lane 8, that's East St. Louis Senior. And running very well in lane 7, Kenny, is Leo.
East St. Louis Senior looks pretty good.
Right, East St. Louis Senior and Wheaton Warrenville South and Thornwood all making the exchange at the same time. And Wheaton Warrenville South is getting a wonderful third leg. And the Tigers have now taken over what appears to be first place as they're chewing up the stagger on all the runners to their right and nobody anywhere near them to the left. Final exchange coming up. And Wheaton Warrenville South will get their baton first. Wheaton Warrenville South, Thornwood, and East St. Louis Senior. They're all together as they come around the turn. It's going to be between Wheaton Warrenville South and Thornwood as we come down the front straightaway.
Look at Thornwood.
It's going to be a lead for the team. Thornwood in lane 6, Thornwood first, Wheaton Warrenville South second, finishing third in lane 3, Bolingbrook.
Just a great anchor leg by Thornwood.
And in the last couple of sprints, remember, they went 2-3 in the 100-meter dash. They get a first place here in the 400-meter relay. And running an absolutely marvelous anchor leg was Evan Baskerville.
Now, look at Evan coming around that turn. And now he's down a couple of meters. Boy, but does he really have a great form. He looks strong. Look at the expression on his face.
And look how still his head is,
Exactly. His head does not move. He'll come up, and now he'll take control. And the perfect lean. And Evan Baskerville ran maybe the best anchor leg we've seen so far today.
Finishing fourth, Leo, East St. Louis Senior, coming in 5th place. Our next race, the 400-meter dash. We are going to get another look at DJ Glenn. He has already won the 100-meter dash. Casey Kettleton of Lexington had the top qualifying time at 49.06. Mark Claypool holds the state record in this event. He's from Caneland, ran 47.2. And he did that back in 1977. .400-meter dash time in Class A, and I call your attention to Michael Hedblum in lane 1 with maybe the most appropriate number of anybody in this race, 440, which of course is the English measure equivalent to this race, the 440-yard dash.
Well, DJ Glenn in lane 4, we've seen him on the 100-meter.
Right, won the 100 meters. And as far as the team results are starting to shake out here in Class A, Harrisburg is starting to build up what's beginning to look like a rather insurmountable lead. But none of the three big shooters in Class A, Harrisburg, Spring Valley Hall, nor Eureka, have a runner in this event. Clean start and a pretty good start by everybody as they move out. And right now in lane 5, it appears that Kettleson of Lexington is moving through the pack pretty swiftly. Kettleson is about to make up the second stagger that he has to his right out of 4. Kettleson, he is in lane 5. In lane 4, just to his left, is DJ Glenn. Glenn and Kettleson appear to be out in front of the pack. In lane 3, that's Richard Gardner of Hales Franciscan. He is in the fight as well, but in lane number 7, that's Ronnie Foster, Peoria Heights. However, Glenn has passed everybody. Glenn's in front. He's bidding for a second victory of the day. He will get it. Kettleson second. Finishing third in lane 7 was Ronnie Foster, the senior from Peoria Heights. So it's turning into a very, very big day for DJ Glenn. And a big 10 points for Spring Valley Hall.
Well, I tell you, DJ Glenn came from behind, just ran a beautiful race. Ronnie Foster from Peoria Heights had the lead, Jim, but he kept looking around.
And just with that victory, Glenn a little bit changes the outlook on things as far as the team standpoint is concerned, because remember, he is still running in the 200-meter dash.
So look at this. Watch Ronnie Foster. He keeps looking around instead of worrying about what he has to do.
And the head is back.
And the head is back. He looked around 3 times, and look at DJ Glenn running a beautiful race. The head is still. The stripes are perfect. He knows he had a lot of time to come up to catch everybody. Wins it going away.
Second victory of the day for DJ Glenn.
But look at him. Just strong, great upper body. The head movement is very minimal. Beautiful run by DJ Glenn.
He has one more bit of work still to come today. He'll make an attempt at winning his 3rd state championship of the day when he runs the 200-meter dash coming up a little bit later on. Let's move on now to the AA 400-meter dash. The top qualifying time, Roderick Dotz, the junior out of Cahokia. His qualifying time, 48.23. Lawrence Wade, the senior from Libertyville, he qualified right on his tail at 48.28. The state record in this event was set in 1985. Harold Leonard of Mount Carmel. He ran this race in 46.51. Brett Bell, he'll be in lane 7, Wheaton Warrenville South. That's important for the team standings. But mainly a lot of runners in this event that don't have an effect on the team standings in this one, except for Brett Bell, the sophomore, who will be in lane 7 from Wheaton Warrenville South.
Boy, just a sophomore in state meet.
Got another sophomore out in lane 8, Devon Clark of Marion Catholic. You don't often see too many guys from Marion Catholic at the state track meet, but Clark is here. And you got a good look at Brett Bell from Wheaton Warrenville South a second ago. He's a sophomore, Kenny, but he sure looks a lot bigger than a sophomore. He's a large young man. Again, the favorite is Roderick Dotz. He'll be right in the middle of the screen in the blue outfit. And he's off to a pretty good start in this one. Dotz, right in front of him, has Nick Bromberek of Lamont High School. Try to run him down first. Dotz with a very straight up and head back running style, but it's pretty effective.
Boy, his head is way back.
Final 200 meters. Dotz has not made up any of the staggers until just now, and he's still trying to chase down Bromberek from Lamont. Coming around the corner, it's going to be Wade from Libertyville, Dotz from Cahokia, and Bromberek from Lamont. And now we've got about a 4-person race. Pulling ahead is Lawrence Wade of Libertyville, and in lane 2, that's Jatani Hansen of Rockford Jefferson. But in the middle of the track, lane 4, it is going to be Wade from Libertyville winning the race and finishing number 1.
Boy, he is very, very strong, big muscles in his legs, and he just came from behind, ran down everybody.
Well, we pointed out, Kenny, that in the prelims, Wade's time was only 5/100ths of a second behind Dot's qualifying time. 47.96, the unofficial time. This really, Kenny, was a race of attrition, it seemed like.
Yeah, look at Dots, how he's standing straight up, his head is back a little bit. But watch Wade in lane 4. Look at the muscles on him, this guy. Doesn't look like he's even running hard. Beautiful, beautiful control. His stride is perfect. Nice and strong, good finish. Boy, he came from behind to win this race going away.
He appeared to be, Kenny, the most relaxed of all the runners as they came down that front straightaway.
Under control the entire time.
Takes away a state championship. Coming up next, the 300-meter intermediate hurdles for Class A. Here's a look at the field. Brian Hartlaub of Riverton. He had the top qualifying time of 38.72. One other runner went below 39 seconds. That was Russ Peterson, the senior from Manteno. He will start out of lane 4. In lane 7, P.J. Fleck of Caneland. He is the Illinois State all-time leading receiver in football. He helped Caneland win a 3A title. The state record in the 300-meter intermediate hurdles for Class A, 37.57 by Chris Trent of Wheaton St. Francis. That was back in 1994. And they run in basically a horseshoe in the 300-meter intermediate hurdles. Start on the back straightaway, and then down we come to the finish. There's a look at P.J. Fleck. Caught a lot of footballs for Caneland over the last few years. And you get a look at Colin Peterson, number 28. For Timothy Christian, that's Mark Voss, who had things going for a while in the 110. Give another try here in the 300. Obviously, because of the distance, this is a much more difficult race, especially when you get down to those last couple of hurdles.
Well, your rhythm has to be perfect.
And you see all sorts of different size of people in this event, too. This is one of the, usually in track events, you see people all of about the same build, whether it be the field events, the throws or the jumps or the sprints or the distances. But in the 300 hurdles, you see them all shapes and sizes. Because this is a race of technique and a race of many times just guts to see if you can keep your steps correct between those final 2 hurdles. So for P.J. Fleck, Kenny, this is his final event as a high school athlete.
You know he wants to go out on top, but Mark Voss, he's also a senior. You know he wants to make up for that 100-meter hurdle.
39.52 was Fleck's qualifying time, so he would certainly have to do a lot of work here in this last 300 meters to come away a state champion. But again, a lot of weird things can happen in this race, as we saw in the 100-meter hurdles, where we had one of the favorites clip a hurdle, about 3 hurdles to go in the race, and it changed the whole complexion of things. We've also seen in past races where if one guy gets out of kilter, goes over a hurdle, you take out 2 or 3 guys. So one of those races where certainly anything can happen.
Set.
Heading into the first hurdle, it certainly appears that in lane 4, Russ Peterson of Manteno has gotten off to a very good start. And he is the one who is going over the hurdles first. Peterson has made up the stagger to his right as he starts his way into the curve. Russ Peterson of Manteno, he's in lane 4. Voss is to his left. Peterson is the first one over the hurdles. Now it gets difficult. Peterson still out in front. To his right, Brian Hartlaub of Riverton running second. Peterson still holding control of the race. One more hurdle to go. Peterson is over clean. He will finish first. Hartlaub is second. And it looked like for 3rd place, Piasecki of Nashville at the wire. He takes 3rd place. Unofficial time, 37.42, which if it holds up, would be a new state record. But last week during the girls meet, we had about a 2/10 of a difference in the unofficial clock and the electronic timing on the track. So we'll have to see if that indeed does hold up as a new state record.
Boy, I tell you what, Russ Peterson looks strong from beginning to end, Jim. This could be a state record. As you see him running there in lane 4, he never had any trouble. He clears the hurdles, running perfect. His rhythm is down. His timing is perfect. He was just outstanding, and he hits this final hurdle. You knew this was going to be his race.
Well, and then from first and second, which were clear how they went, then after that, it becomes a photo for all the other spots.
Here's the last hurdle by Russ Peterson. He comes across the hurdle, perfect rhythm, perfect timing, looks around, knows he has it, says, yeah, state champ.
You know what, though, Kenny? If he misses that state record by, say, a few hundredths of a second, he's really going to wish he hadn't turned his head.
Yeah, you're right.
But you know what? At this point, you don't care. You're a state champion, and that's all that counts. And Russ Peterson, a senior, his final race, he goes out as state champion, and it doesn't get much better than that, and he very well could have a state record as well. 300-meter intermediate hurdles in Class AA, our next event. Top qualifying time, Merrill Williams, a junior, 37.15. And quite frankly, his time pretty much outdistanced the field, at least in the prelims. The next best qualifying time, Kyle Erickson of York at 37.47. Remember, we could see another York double in the next 2 events in AA, because they have Erickson here in the 300-meter hurdles, and Donald Sage will take the track again in the 1,600-meter run. State record in this event, 37.01. John Strickland of Glenbrook South in 1990. And we could see a run at another state record in this hurdle event, because the prelim times very, very close to the state record.
Well, we talked about Erickson in the Open. He's qualified for this. He had an outstanding day down here yesterday. And as you see him right there, York, of course, they want to win the state championship. We always talk about their distance runners, but Kyle Erickson has to come through here in the 300-meter hurdles.
Now, here is a case where, remember, the lane assignments are made with the top runner in lane 5, and then you work out from the middle. But Erickson, with a bit of an advantage here, is because he is staring down at Merrill Williams right in front of him, which has to be a little bit to Erickson's advantage. And we have a discussion.
Working on their hurdle, or they're just having a discussion? Couldn't tell if they were working on the hurdle.
Maybe just a reiteration of the rules. Now, each one of those officials is responsible for making sure none of the runners foul. That's Tony Hay, the senior from Waubonsie Valley, you saw there in lane 2. Unfortunately, it's not like horse racing where you might see them flash the inquiry sign up. But again, we just saw in the 300-meter intermediates for Class A a possible state record, and we could see another run at one in this event. Pretty simple, though. You just got to go under 37 to get a state record in the AA hurdles. In case you're wondering about the wind, it's not that much of a factor. It's blowing across the track. It's blowing, as you look at the screen right now, from the back of the screen to the front of the screen. So the runners never, in this, at least in this event, never truly have to run into it. John Schweigert from Wheaton Warrenville South, he's out in lane 6. Could be a great battle right in the middle of the track. Erickson, Williams, Schweigert.
Set.
Very quickly, Williams out of the blocks, and Erickson going right on his tail. Erickson appears to be hitting the hurdles first, but Schweigert is right there as well. Erickson clipped the second hurdle just a little bit. Williams in the middle of the track. He has Erickson right on his left. Hurdles going down all over the place, and it is Erickson that has the lead. Well, I'll tell you what, Kenny, Merrill Williams is clipping hurdles all over the place, but he's still staying in the hunt. Erickson, Williams, Schweigert going 1, 2, 3. Williams tying up. Erickson, one more hurdle to go. It's a race to the tape. It may have been out-leaned by Schweigert.
I think the lean.
Schweigert's lean may have gotten him a state title.
Boy, I tell you what, I think the lean may have done it.
And I think in the end, hitting all those hurdles took a little bit too much out of Merrill Williams. His timing was off since about the second hurdle.
Yeah, he hit way too many hurdles, Jim. If he doesn't hit that many hurdles, he has a great chance of winning this race. But as it was, Erickson and Schweigert came down. So watch how many, he'll hit the hurdle.
Yeah,
that back leg.
He just totally mistimed that one,
yeah.
Kenny. 36.81 the unofficial time, and if the unofficial time holds up, that's good enough for a state record. Now let's watch the finish here and see if Schweigert did indeed outlean Erickson at the tape. By this time, Williams is tying up. He's a non-factor, and you saw Erickson having trouble getting the steps down. Here they come to the tape. Oh, boy, is that close.
Boy, I don't know. Here it is again, Jimmy. Boy, John with a great lean. The final hurdle. Watch John with that lean.
Now, we should point this out. Our camera is not the official photo. So our angle is pretty good. The head of Erickson is out first, but does Schweigert outlean him?
I think he does.
You know what? Wow, that is so close. And it's going to really depend on that angle of the camera as opposed to the angle of the official photo. Right there, it looks like Schweigert's got him. You know what the thing is? Erickson has his hair combed down here, whereas Schweigert's got that kind of buzz cut bit where it's standing up a little bit. That may have been the difference. That's how close it was.
He may have won it by a hair.
And he may have a state record by a hair. Or who knows? They might just call it a dead heat.
Well, they're talking about it.
What a fantastic race. So
that's why you practice your lean.
Right. And they really looked like they both had it timed right, but as the way the strides fell coming across the line, Schweigert's leg was going out a little farther than Erickson's, and the lean may have been in his favor, but boy, is that too close to call.
I think you have to give Schweigert credit also because he was running third. He never gave up. He kept coming as they take a look at the photo, and Merrill Williams was just off stride the entire race. But to his credit, he stayed with the pack. Boy, but what a race, what a finish. That lean was incredible.
The other point we should make is this: the photo, the camera for the photo, they have it on both sides of the track with a timing device, so they may have a totally different look at it than what we had. It certainly appeared from what we saw that Schweigert may have gotten it literally by a hair, as we pointed out. And again, it's going to also be very, very close to a state record, and they are looking right now. Aren't computers wonderful?
Instant replay.
They are going to have a hard time sorting this thing out. And
that's the camera that counts.
And we should point out that that is, what would you say, Kenny, about 15 feet up in the air, and it's maybe 10 feet back from the edge of the track, so it's basically right over the finish line. They're going to have to roll that one back and forth a few times to get a look at it. We're going to take one more look at our angle. And again, I want to point out as they come over the final hurdle that our angle is not necessarily the angle of the camera on the finish line. But how close can you be?
So you know what happened? It looks now it looks to me that Erickson made his lean too soon.
That's the photo, and to tell you the honest truth, well, I can tell you this. It's taken from the near side of the track because of the way the shade is. So in that picture, if we can go back to that again, guys, in that picture, it looked like Erickson might have had it.
I think Erickson went into his lean too soon.
But see, now where's
the finish line?
Exactly. In the photo, there's a line across. And that's the thing that will determine it. And because we're kind of eavesdropping more or less.
There's your other camera. See, I thought,
you know what, Ken? We just had a good point made out of the truck. I think we have to be honest here. I think we have to all this say, you know what? We don't know who won that race. That's how close it was.
I think Erickson went into the lean before the finish line.
Well, they are saying that the winner is out of lane 6, and lane 6 is John Schweigert, the senior from Wheaton Warrenville South. The other question is that we'll have to find the answer to, is it a state record? On the track, the 1,600-meter run for Class A. Dustin Franke of Eureka. We saw him run a beautiful 3,200-meter earlier in the day. Now remember, we talked about Ryan Young and the fact that he was entered in the 3,200-meter and decided not to run it. But he is in this race, and he is starting in the hierarchy right next to Dustin Franke. And right away, Young takes the initiative on Franke and gets out first. 4 laps around for this one. They run out to the back straightaway, and then they roll. The 1,600-meter run in Class A, the state record 4:16.8 by Greg Hill of Freeburg in 1981. That's not Freebird, that's Freeburg. And again, this will be a very interesting race as far as strategy is concerned, because Franke has already competed. Ryan Young has not run in an individual event. Taking the lead in the early going is Matt Wildhelm, a senior from Marion Central. Wildhelm will come across first 400 meters in 1 minute, 2 seconds. And again, Dustin Franke, as we saw him doing the 3,200, he doesn't seem to have a problem with running in traffic.
Right.
Right now, he's running in about 8th place. He has plenty of time, and Wildhelm is doing something that the leaders would certainly like, and that is he's setting a very quick pace.
He's just about to be passed.
Wildhelm qualified at 4:31.27. And Ryan Young now moving up on the outside. He's taken the lead, and it looks like what Dustin Franke has done is he has let the entire pack go past him, and he's basically just gone to the back and decided he wants a little bit of room to run. There's Franke at the back of the pack, trying for the 1,600, 3,200 double today. And we have all sorts of guys in the fight here. Mitchell Baker of Macomb, he's right in the middle of it as well. We saw him run a very nice 3,200 meter earlier in the day. And you see Ryan Young from Prairie Central now moving into 2nd place. And quite frankly, Dustin Franke, unless he's got a big kick and a big charge, he has fallen behind, and he's got a lot of bodies between him. Distance races are a lot like golf. It's not so much how far you are behind, it's how many bodies are between you and the lead.
On a warm day like this, he had already ran 3,200.
Franke right now is making a pass and moving into 8th. Ryan Young, he is running in 3rd. Running in 1st place right now is Robert Hanners from Tuscola. We saw him here at the state meet last year. So Hanners holding on to the lead as they make the turn to come down the straightaway. They'll get the gun for the final lap of the race. Hanners is running in 2nd place right now. Ryan Young is running in 3rd. He appears to be making his move. He has gone to 2nd place. Ryan Young, as we come to the tape and get the gun, Ryan Young will take the lead. 1 lap to go, 3:16 to split for 600 meters. Young is out in front. Going right with him is Joel Bork of Kewanee. And Bork is staying right with him.
Stride for stride.
Ryan Young was looking very strong as he made his pass, and maybe not the best place in the world for Bork to try and pass, but he certainly stayed right on the shoulder of Ryan Young. And now Bork and Young have separated themselves from the field. In case you're wondering about Dustin Franke, right now he is all the way back in 6th place. 200 meters to go. Young and Bork are out in front of the entire field. Young running from Prairie Central, Bork from Kewanee, and Bork is hanging in there. Ryan Young, he did not run the 3,200 meters. He put everything into this race, but right now he has a fight on his hands.
Here comes Bork.
Bork is maybe a knee ahead. Could it be our 2nd photo in a row? Young is fighting it. Bork has plenty left in the tank. Joel Bork of Kewanee finishes 1st. Young is 2nd, and what a kick by Franke to come in and finish 3rd. What a race of total guts by Joel Bork.
Boy, I tell you, he stayed with Ryan Young stride for stride. Down the stretch, he turned it on. He comes in, gets the win. But what a race and what a kick for third place.
4:18.96 is the unofficial time in the 1,600-meter run. A very, very quick race. Ryan Young, he was trying to hold off Bork and trying to hold him off.
He was trying to hold him off. He looked strong here. Boy, but look at Bork. He decides to kick it in right here. You can see his arms are nice, close, beautiful stride. You can see Young starting to tire. The arms are starting to move a little bit.
Kenny.
Yeah, arms are starting to move a little bit. Look at the beautiful stride there.
Outstanding race by Bork. Yeah, Ryan Young, he had about 1,550 meters worth of gas, and that was it. And again, Dustin Franke, who was as far back as 9th with about 500 meters to go, he came in and finished 3rd. So he ends up getting a 1st and a 3rd today for Eureka.
Still not bad.
Coming up next, the 1,600-meter run in Class AA. And once again, we are going to get to see Donald Sage of York. He had the top qualifying time. He ran 4:15.97 yesterday. Eric Schroll of Wheeling, he qualified with the 2nd best time. Wheeling could make a big haul in this race because Ed Torres has also entered in this event. Mike Cropper, who we saw go out very, very quickly in the 3,200-meter run, he is in there. Peter Sione, who also ran in the 3,200 meters, he is in this race as well. The state record in AA for the 1,600-meter run held by Mark Dady of Prairie View in 1985. By far, Donald Sage for the qualifiers, the class of the event, his qualifying time was 3 seconds better than the next best qualifier, Eric Schroll, who we should point out ran in Sage's prelim. Sage has already run today. Torres has already run today. Schroll has not. So we'll have to see how this shakes out. One would imagine that Donald Sage might want everybody else to do the work in this race. Now, we saw Mike Cropper with very good speed in the 3,200.
I don't know if he has enough left to jump out like he did in the 3,200 here in the 1,600 meter.
But of course, the other question becomes, is this race short enough where maybe he can run out again? William Arto. We saw him earlier in the distance relay, the sophomore, and he has decided to take the lead, at least for the time being. Donald Sage well back in the pack, and he is locked in by the traffic. Let's see what kind of an effect that might have. Moving to the front of the pack is Justin Amundsen, Jr. out of Centralia. He has the lead, and he will cross the stripe at 1:04. But a long, long way to go in this event. Not only do you have a lot of people who ran the 3,200 in this event, but you also have a lot of guys who have been in the distance relays too. So we really don't have anybody out there who's too fresh. Donald Sage right now is running 11th, but he is well within touch of the lead, and he's starting to make a little bit of a move there in the back stretch. You see him swing out into lane 2 and starting to pass a group of 3 runners.
Yeah, he's starting to really pick it up now.
Very important for the York runners to work together in this event. But yet, Centralia's Amundsen continues to lead her. Coming down toward the midpoint of the race. Donald Sage right now is running 6th. Atrope of Evanston has dropped back to 4th. Amundsen continues to lead. 2:08, his split for 800 meters. Donald Sage has moved up to 4th. He's moved into the rail. He and Atrope got tied up a little bit as Sage cut into the inside of the track. So Donald Sage all race long has been involved in a little bit of traffic. He didn't seem to break his stride as he got into the little tangle there. Sage making his move up the back stretch now. He's moved into 3rd place. And now Donald Sage, let's see if he decides to tuck in behind the two lead runners or if he decides to get up on their shoulders going around the turn. He'll back it off a little bit. He'll stay on the inside of the track.
Boy, he looks pretty strong, doesn't he?
He looks pretty strong, Kenny, and not only that, he's going to conserve a little energy here in the curve by dropping in. What you would think Sage is going to do is swing out now and pass everybody here on the straight, but he is boxed in a little bit as he comes down the straight.
Can't get outside.
Now running in first place in the 1,600-meter run from Fenton is Chris Seamers. Seamers and Amundsen, they still have Sage blocked in as we get the gun. 1 lap to go. Seamers on the outside is trying to pass, not the ideal place, and Amundsen is not letting him go, is giving him a fight, and the beneficiary of all this is Donald Sage, because no longer does he have to go around 2 runners. They have gone single file. Now Amundsen moves out, he cuts off Sage. Amundsen, Seamers, and Sage on the back straight. Sage is trying to run around Seamers and get past Amundsen before they go to the curve. Donald Sage making his move, Amundsen not giving in one bit, and Seamers now pulling up again. Boy, this race has not turned out the way Donald Sage has wanted it, but he has the lead.
Has it now.
Donald Sage is just tearing it up now as he comes down the front straightaway. It's a race for second because Sage is going to win going away. Donald Sage of York, he won the 3,200 earlier. He wins the 1,600, 4:12 the unofficial time. Seamers second, Amundsen third. What a race.
Boy, I tell you, Donald Sage has been outstanding today. He conserved some energy. He was running, what, 11th early. He made his move at the right time, comes away with his second gold medal.
But you know what, Kenny, I will tell you this, by the way that race was run, that was about a 180 from the plan that Sage had going in, because he was in traffic early, he was boxed in late, and it's at a time like this where you really see what a distance runner is made out of, because I'll guarantee you his plan was to be leading going into that final turn, and the last thing he wanted was to be on the outside shoulder of the lead runner going into that turn and essentially have to pass on the curve.
But that's exactly what happened as he gets the lead right here coming around the curve. Not the ideal place to try to take a lead, but once he gets that lead, kiss him goodbye. Well, you can tell he really, really says, hey, I'm going home with 2 gold medals today.
It's easy to win when the race goes according to the way you had it planned. It really shows something when essentially you've got to make it up as you go along, and Donald Sage figured out a way to win anyway. That was an outstanding run.
And very, very difficult to pass coming around that curve.
We have 2 more running events left, the 200-meter dash and the 1,600-meter relay. But right now, let's get a field event update from Mark Pinsky.
Everyone in the Class A pole vault shooting for the record. 16.2 set back in 1985. But that mark is safe for another year as Taylor Reich comes in third, bearing 14 feet, a foot better than his sectional mark. Eureka's Jordan Tanner, who came in 6th last year, moves up to 2nd place. But it's Kurt Long who cleared 14.9 before Tanner did, winning the state title. 2nd year in a row, a Caneland student athlete won the Class A pole vault.
It's a great feeling. I think it was very competitive in there. Got a little nervous there after kept jumping back and forth from the heights, but didn't let it get to me.
Top 3 recap in the Class A boys pole vault. Long first, then Tanner and Reich. In AA, Mike Harbeck, a senior from MacArthur High School in Decatur, who came in 4th last year, clears 15 feet for the 2nd year in a row. This time it's good for 3rd place. Josh Catone, who won this event a year ago when he cleared 15 feet 6 inches, takes 2nd with the mark 6 inches off last year's winning number. And the AA champion is Garrett Nelson, the senior from Rockford Guilford, finished 10th a year ago. He vaulted 15.6, 21 inches better than last year's mark.
It feels pretty good. I feel like I could have gone to a higher height, but I mean, you can't really complain too much with a win. I would have liked to got 16 today. I haven't gotten that before. I've got it in practice a lot, so I was kind of thinking today be the day, but you know, it's a hot day, so it's hard to keep in it for too long, and I'm pleased with how I did overall.
In the Class A long jump, Canelan's P.J. Fleck gave Tad Hewlett a bit of a scare. Fleck places second, leaping 21 feet 9 1/4 inches. But once again, it's Hewlett, a senior from Robinson High School, winning the state title, beating Fleck by over a foot. Hewlett's best effort, 22-10 1/2, his third long jump championship in as many years.
This year was kind of tough because, I came in, thinking, I was rated pretty good, but I came in and my steps were all off, so kind of scary today because I made finals yesterday with just my last jump, so pretty scary.
Hewlett hangs on for his third straight state championship. Fleck comes in second, followed by Mark Goebel from Newton. In the AA long jump, 10 student athletes leaped over 22 feet, including Rantoul's Dwayne Smith. Smith qualified for state with a jump of 23 feet 3 inches. On this day, he finishes third, 22-9 1/2. Second goes to Ihini Obia, a senior from Charleston, who equaled Smith's jump of 22-9 1/2. The AA boys long jump state champion is Roman Bounds from Rich Easton Park Forest, 22-10 1/2. Bounds wins by 1 inch.
I gotta say I was happy, cause like I said, I never thought I was gonna win it, but that 22-10 stood up to that last jump. I didn't have to take. When I knew I didn't have to take it, it was speechless.
Recapping the long jump in Class 2A, Bounds, Obia, Smith, 1, 2, 3. Stay with us. We're coming right back to O'Brien Stadium.
And welcome back to O'Brien Stadium. We are down to the final pair of events for this year's meet. 200-meter dash will be first. The field in Class A, DJ Glenn in the middle of the track. He had the best time in the qualifying, 21.80. He has won the 100. He has won the 400. He will now go for the triple and try and win that third gold medal. Daniel Rush of Luther South will be in lane 4. Brad Brashear, a sophomore from Harrisburg, will be in lane 6. State record for this event, 21.4 by David Washington of Walter Lutheran in 1984. Speaking of state records, John Schweigert not only wins the 300-meter intermediate hurdles in Class AA by a hair, but he also sets a new state record. The old record, 37.01, the new one, 36.77. Can DJ Glenn win one more race? He is in the middle of the track. He's in the prime position. Of course, Spring Valley Hall has so much success in nearly all the sports. One of the premier Class A powers in almost any sport you want to pick. And Glenn off to a very good start. He's made up most of his stagger. He is chasing down Brad Brashear to his right. Glenn has the lead coming down the straightaway. Can he make it? 3 victories in the state track meet. All he has to do is run clean the last 10 meters. He does it. What a day for Glenn. Second place to Daniel Rush of Luther South. Tom Gilbert of Rock Falls in lane 3 appeared to have gotten third.
DJ Glenn. In this heat, 3 wins. Unbelievable.
21.7, the unofficial time. Well, you know what, Kenny? When you're a senior and you're in your final athletic competition, it just doesn't get any better than that.
Boy, it can't get any better. Look at him coming out of the blocks cleanly. Boy, look at his stride. Isn't he something? Look how strong he is. Coming around the turn, makes up the stagger, and boy, I tell you what, when he gets down that final 100 meters, there was no stopping him.
Do you think you could go to him after this race and say, hey, you know what, DJ, we need somebody to anchor the mile relay. Can you run one more for us?
Well, I tell you what, he may be able to do it, but I think he's earned the rest of the day off.
He looked very, very strong indeed. What a great race and what a fantastic day.
25-year record holder, Greg Virgin, 2-time Olympic champion, Mr. Virgin.
But I tell you what, look at that body. Look at how strong he is.
Well, you know what, Kenny? I do know at Spring Valley Hall, they make it a point to make sure they get all their athletes to the weight room, football, basketball, whatever. And they emphasize the weight program, they believe in it, and they get all the kids to participate in it. And I think you're seeing the results because, believe me, it's not easy to run just those 3 events in the same track meet, let alone go out and win them.
It's unbelievable.
200-meter dash for Class AA coming up. And Merrill Williams, who we saw a little bit earlier have a problem in the 100 meters. He's going to be in the middle of the track again as the top qualifier, 22.03. But really, what we want to keep an eye on in this race, lane 6, Adam Green for Wheaton Warrenville South, Byron Ruff, lane 8 for Thornwood, because those 2 schools are really the last 2 standing as far as which one is going to win the state championship. And as we look at the team standings through 16 events, Wheaton Warrenville South has a lot of catching up to do. They might be able to do it here in this race. State record in this event, Anthony Mormon of Lake Park, set in 1997, 20.89. As we go into this event, it's a 7-point difference right now between Thornwood and Wheaton Warrenville South for the state championship. And you got a good look in lane 8 at Byron Ruff. It's not a great lane assignment, but remember, in the 100-meter dash, he finished 2nd out of lane 1. So remember, we have a couple of things riding on this race. Not only the individual run, but also team points between Wheaton Warrenville South and Thornwood. Middle of the track, Merrill Williams of Springfield Lanphier. He has the lead, but in lane 4, Dante Daniels of Warren giving a good run. Daniels has the lead, but only by about a chest. Daniels is going to cross first. And finishing 2nd in the event was Merrill Williams of Lanphier. Dante Daniels, an unofficial time of 21.95.
From Gurnee Warren High School. Dante Daniels, 21.95, great time. Boy, look, he knows he's won it. Look at him. I tell you what, he ran a pretty good race as we come around the corner, come around the curve. Look at Daniels, Jimmy, running beautifully, really, really strong. Has to hold off. Boy, I tell you what, this came down to a 2-man race.
And finishing 2nd in the race was Adam Green of Wheaton Warrenville South.
Those are big points for Wheaton Warrenville
big
South.
Points, and Thornwood finishes 4th. So Thornwood's lead has a little bit of a chunk taken out of it. And for the AA title, it could very well all come down to the 1,600-meter relay, in which Wheaton Warrenville South is entered, but Thornwood is not. But Dante Daniels, your champion in the 200-meter dash. Next up, the 1,600-meter relay in Class A. Top qualifying time by Harrisburg at 3:24.54. State record in the 1,600-meter relay in Class A, 3:20 flat by St. Anne in 1983. The final event of the 1999 Class A Boys Track and Field Championships, Harrisburg, through 16 events, which does not include the last event, in which Spring Valley Hall won. Harrisburg still 2 points ahead. Spring Valley Hall does not have a relay team entered in this event, so Harrisburg has won the state title.
Congratulations to Harrisburg.
What they're going to see now is if they can tack on 10 more points. And there is their leadoff runner, Braden Jones, a sophomore. They have Patton Seagraves running in this relay as well. And again, they'll go once around in the lanes. And then once the second group of runners gets their baton, then they can break to the pole at the back of the race. And right now, out in lane 7, Mantino has done a good job of making up their stagger in the first part of the race. But Harrisburg's Braden Jones running very smoothly in the middle of the track. Harrisburg, they've won the state title. They can just add to their total. And right now in this race, they're right in the middle of the fight. The team that makes the first exchange will indeed be Harrisburg. Mantino got rid of their baton second. Running leg number 2 for Harrisburg is Brian Weiss, a senior.
Now they can cut to the inside.
And they do, and it looked a little bit like Harrisburg's runner, Brian Weiss, got a little bit off his stride, although he has recovered, but by the time he does, he's dropped all the way back to 4th place. Very, very swift so far in this race. They're coming down the front straightaway, and the clock, we're going to be in the neighborhood of about 1:45 for the opening 2 legs. Harrisburg's Brian Weiss has made up for his earlier troubles. He is going to hand off to a freshman, John Perkins. Pretty good exchange by Harrisburg. They have the lead. Running in second right now, Beardstown. Chris Eisnogel, a junior. He has the baton.
How would you like to be a freshman in the state championship meet?
Well, I like it a lot better running leg number 3 than running the anchor leg, I'll tell you that.
He's doing a good job.
The freshman John Perkins holding on to the lead. He has about 200 meters to go before he gets to hand off for the anchor leg. Harrisburg running first, Beardstown running second. And now Beardstown goes into the front. And now it's time for the freshman to hang on and make sure he passes off the baton and gives his anchor runner a chance. And running the anchor leg for Harrisburg is Patton Seagraves, the senior. He already has a victory today. There's probably nobody better if you're Harrisburg to have the baton with.
Go to the other side.
These guys started off their anchor leg in the neighborhood of about 240. 1 lap around for each runner in the 1,600-meter relay, about 200 meters to go. Patton Seagraves is running 3rd right now. Maple Park, Canelan, they have the lead. Beardstown second, and Harrisburg is running 3rd. It's going to be a sprint to the finish. Can Seagraves catch up? Harrisburg has already won the state title. Can they win the final event as well? The answer is going to be no. Beardstown wins the 1,600-meter relay. Harrisburg second, Canelan 3rd. Finishing 4th, U High of Normal.
Great, great finish.
3:22, the unofficial time.
I tell you what, Beardstown did a great job, Jim, of hanging on. Harrisburg was right there.
So for Harrisburg, a little bit frustrating they don't win the final event, but they still get to go out of here having claimed the state championship.
And that's exactly what you want to do. You want to win all the events, but they will be the state champion as Beardstown just hangs on to come away with the 10 points and the championship in the 1,600-meter race.
And that was a big finish, Kenny, for Canelan, because by coming in 3rd in that race, they at least moved themselves up into 3rd place in the team standings. But now we have come down to the final event of the day, and this will also determine the state championship in AA. Here is the field for the 1,600-meter relay for Class AA. Wheaton Warrenville South, they have the top qualifying time, 3 minutes 18.66. But here's something else to keep in mind. Wheaton Warrenville South goes into this event trailing Thornwood by 3.5 points for the state title. So Wheaton Warrenville South, with a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd place finish, they will win the AA championship. It's all pretty simple now for Wheaton Warrenville South, and their lead runner in this event will be Adam Cadavar, senior. 1st, 2nd, or 3rd wins a state title for the Tigers. If they do not get 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, the state title goes to Thornwood. Thornwood does not have a relay entered in this event. And as a matter of fact, Thornwood did not have a relay team in this event at all. It's not that they didn't make the finals, it's that they didn't have a team at it. First, second, or third does it for Wheaton Warrenville South. Cadavar gets out in pretty good shape. He's right in the middle of the track, right in the middle of your screen. Those are the lead runners in lanes 8 and 9, Evanston Township and Belleville East. In the middle of the track, Cadavar has yet to make up a stagger. Running the second leg for Wheaton Warrenville South will be Eric McGoy.
Being in lane 5 is a great position, though.
And as they come down the straightaway, Evanston is in first, but remember, they have one more curve before the stagger is gone. The key thing to watch is where does everybody make the exchange? What school gets the baton first? And the answer seems to be in lane number 6, East St. Louis Senior. Gregory Clay running the second leg for East St. Louis Senior. And McGoy has gone out and taken the lead in this race. Now the runners can break to the pole. Wheaton Warrenville South first. The Wheaton Warrenville South Tigers, remember, they need to finish first, second, or third to win the state championship. They are up in a pack right now of the 3 leaders. The Tigers are running in second position. Proviso West will come down the straightaway first. Proviso West, Wheaton Warrenville South going 1-2 so far. Taking the baton for Wheaton Warrenville South will be Brett Bell.
Great exchange for Proviso West.
East St. Louis Senior running in third place right now. Springfield Southeast is fourth. Proviso West first. East St. Louis Senior second. Wheaton Warrenville South, and a little bit of a problem there in the back straightaway as the 2 runners from East St. Louis Senior and Wheaton Warrenville South get tied up. And now Proviso West starting to leg out their lead just a little bit. They readjust the runners taking the baton. John Schweigert, who won the 300-meter intermediate hurdles, will take the baton for Wheaton Warrenville South. The Tigers are second. Proviso West makes their exchange first. Schweigert gets the baton. When this lap ends, as long as he is in first, second, or third, the Tigers will win the state championship, but Schweigert has bigger things on his mind. He wants to come in first, get one more first for the Tigers in this event. 300 meters to go.
Boy, he's such a strong runner. He has a lot of time left.
I can tell you this, what you are seeing on your screen is deceiving. The lead is not that big. Schweigert is right on the tail.
Here he comes.
Moving up on the shoulder, and he makes a pass in the curve. Schweigert trying to get a victory in this event for the Wheaton Warrenville South Tigers. He is also trying to help them claim a state title.
Look how strong he is.
Schweigert will cross the finish line first for the second time in about the last 20 minutes. Wheaton Warrenville South, they win the 1,600-meter relay. They also win the state title. Proviso West second, East St. Louis Senior third.
Boy, what a run by John Schweigert, huh?
Unofficial time, 3:16. That's pretty quick. That's only a couple of seconds off the state record held by Thornton, set over 10 years ago.
What a performance. And again, he makes his move coming around the turn. Not the ideal place to pass someone, but he's so big and so strong. Just goes to the outside, gets a couple of strides ahead, and says, okay, see you later. We are the state champions. Wheaton Warrenville South. Look how strong he is. Look like he can go another lap, Jim. Look at this guy. Just really turns it on. He's strong. He is outstanding. What an incredible performance by Wheaton Warrenville South.
You know when you're driving on the highway, Kenny, and you've got the beamer going and you see a Corvette next to you and you know you've got more car, and no matter where you are on the road, you can make your pass? That's what Schweigert did. He had more car coming around that turn, and he knew it. What a day for the Tigers from Wheaton Warrenville South. They always come down here with the tools necessary to win a state title. It's a matter of getting breaks and having things go your way, and they certainly did in 1999 for the Tigers as they'll head back up north after winning yet another state title.
Welcome back to Charleston. I'm Mark Pinsky. Time now for the Class A high jump, where 6 different competitors leap 6'5" or better. But only DJ Glenn managed to hit 6'7". Glenn from Spring Valley Hall came in 3rd last year as a junior. Now he closes out his high school career as the Class A state champion.
Being a state champion, it's the greatest feeling I've had in a long time. I don't know, it feels great, and I thought I could do it. I was pretty confident coming into today that if I jumped myself, that I would win.
In AA, a couple of mild surprises. Senior Antoine Cooney of Thornwood, who qualified for states with a jump of 6'3", takes 3rd at 6'6". Belleville East Quincy Jackson clears 6'7". He qualified with a jump of 6'3". Jackson forced Nick Blasing of St. Charles to beat him at 6'8". And Blasing did just that, clearing 6 feet 8 inches. He was amazed to set a personal record at the state meet.
Wow is all that comes to mind. I had no idea that I could do that. I mean, that was a 3-inch PR, and I've never PR'd by more than 1 inch, so that was a great feeling.
A great feeling indeed. Blasing the champion, Jackson 2nd, Cooney 3rd. Meanwhile, in the small school triple jump, Mark Boss of Timothy Christian moved up 2 places last year and ends up 3rd. Jason Angel of Kewanee Weathersfield beat Voss by less than a foot to take the silver. And Vance Tuck of Cairo, who qualified with a mark of 48 feet and 2 inches, takes the gold, 46 1 3/4, good enough to win the A triple jump.
It's a great feeling. I'm just glad I finally got to this point. You know, I had a better jump at sectionals. I just tried to do what I could do out here.
So it's Tuck who was favored coming in, winning the triple jump. Angel comes in 2nd, Voss 3rd. And finally, the AA triple jump. Roman Bounds from Rich East, who won the long jump, had another strong effort in the triple jump, finishing just 20 inches behind the winner. Bounds takes 3rd. 2nd goes to MacArthur's Tillian Smith, just a sophomore. He leaps over 48 feet 7 inches. Smith was the only underclassman to qualify for the state meet. And the winner is Jacksonville's Steve McGee, who came in 3rd last year. McGee improved upon his jump from his junior year by more than 2 feet.
Now you're dedicating this to 3 people. Which 3?
I'm dedicated to this win to God, to my parents and my coaches, and I'm dedicated to all the fans that came up and watched me jump, and to Jacksonville. I'm dedicated to everybody who supported me over the past year, and they did it well. I wouldn't have done it without them.
I thought you were dedicating to 3 people. You dedicated like thousands.
Thousands, and you want to say something, and then it doesn't come out, so you might as well, just go with what you want to say. I should have said I dedicate this to 2,000 people, but I said 3, but 3 groups. Dedicated to 3 groups. All honors going to God.
Recapping the AA triple jump, McGee first, followed by Smith and Bounds. There's more to come. The IHSA Boys Track and Field Championships continue right after this.
We have had a fantastic day of the 1999 IHSA Boys Track and Field Championships, but now the teams that have had the best day out of anybody, the champions, are being crowned here. And in Class A, Harrisburg wins it with 59 points. Spring Valley Hall with 45. We should point out that DJ Glenn had 40 of those 45 points on his own. Eureka and Canelan, they tie for 3rd with 29 points apiece. In AA, Wheaton Warrenville South, they needed to finish no worse than 3rd in the final event of the day. They went out and won it. They win the state title with 51 points. Thornwood, they had a great effort all day long, especially in the 100-meter dash, where they took 2nd and 3rd, but they come up just a little bit short. They finished 2nd with 45.5 points. York comes in 3rd at 38th, and Salem with some real heavy equipment today in the field events. They finished 4th with 25.5. When Kenny and I come back, we will show you our Pepsi moment from this year's 1999 IHSA Boys Track and Field Championships. Our Pepsi moment from the 1999 IHSA Boys Track and Field Championships came in the 200-meter dash. DJ Glenn of Spring Valley Hall. Kenny, this was his final event of the day. He had won 3 going into this. He walks away from here with 4 gold medals.
Unbelievable. Look how strong he is. He gets out of the blocks. He comes down the stretch. Look at that upper body. He is a strong individual. What a performer. 4 individual gold medals today.
So DJ Glenn with 40 points on his own. He outscored every other team today except for 3. Harrisburg in Class A, Wheaton Warrenville South, and Thornwood in Class AA. For my partners Kenny McReynolds and Mark Pinsky and our entire crew, I'm Jim Blaney saying so long from Eastern Illinois University. The proceeding has been an exclusive presentation of Fox Sports Net Chicago and Intersport Television.